Welcome everyone to my channel. Welcome back to the pack. Yeah, the Wolf Crazy. We're going to be starting, as you can probably see by the title, Stuff Cinderella. We're going to be talking a little bit about Firewall Ultra now. I did this a couple of days ago, where we talked a little bit about Petrifying Pumpkins' take on some of the questions that were presented in the First Contact Entertainment Discord. Now, I'm not in that Discord anymore. It was a little too toxic for me. Didn't want to have to deal with that bullshit. So I decided to wait on someone else to post something up, and that he sure did. So I commented on that. It was a very critical take on everything. Yes, I was a bit. I presented myself as a bit of a skeptic, a bit of a pessimist. All right, I get that, but just know that I am excited about the game nonetheless. And there's even more reason to be excited about it. We're gonna get into that. I do have myself a special guest tonight, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. But enough talk. Let's get into it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into this. So we're going to try to move right along, though. In fact, I'm not even going to bring down the screen. If you understand what I'm saying? Like, no, we're just going to push this bad boy along. I have someone very special in Discord. Someone extra special in Discord. If you guys would like to welcome alongside me tonight, Titch 1987. What's up, my dude? You are pouring yourself a tasty one.
Yeah. What's going on? I thought you said you were having a special guest.
I mean, you're special in a lot of ways, my friend.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah. Cheers. See, I'm joining you tonight. Look at this. It's not a full glass. It's a Blue Moon IPA. Yeah, it's very, very hoppy. I mean, it's so hoppy. Like they brew, like you can't see it, but they like brewed stuff in it.
Let me ask you a question. Then,
and it's quite delicious.
That does remind me of something. Does that happen to be the thing that your wife posted about on Facebook?
It is. She says yuck.
Okay.
You know, it's funny though because she's continued to drink it, so it hasn't really had enough of a yuck impact on her that she won't drink.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
I was going to say, because I know that I saw that, and then I was just like, right away, my mind went to, because you were drinking some cherry wood thing last time, or on Friday.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The cherry wheat. It was the cherry wheat. Yeah.
Cherry wheat, that's the one, yeah.
Yeah. And she really enjoys that one. For sure. All right. Well, we got our drinks. We got our stage. It's well lit. And now I was telling everybody that I already kind of did a bit of a review. Now, I don't know. Are you still in the First Contact Entertainment Discord or no?
Yes, I am.
Did you read all the questions or a lot of the questions that were presented to the team?
I did.
You did. Okay. What were your thoughts?
I did read a lot.
And what were your thoughts? Like, not just on specific questions or anything like that. My question to you is more so like, what was your general impression based on the answers given?
Based on the answers given?
Yes. Because the questions, I'm sure, like they're similar to the questions that maybe you and I had or other people had, obviously. But like, what were your impressions?
The questions overall were pretty common. Even some of the questions were like already answered if people had really looked. Or like, you know what I mean? I don't think we got anything that we didn't already know or we didn't already think was already going to be in place. If that makes sense.
Nothing surprising.
Nothing surprising. Like we already knew they were changing the ADS, right? we're going to know that you can play in a standing. Hess Barber had already said he always wanted to make sure that you can always play in a sitting or standing position. Like those kind of things we knew that were always going to be in place. We knew we were going to get any information on some of the maps, right? Other than what has already been shared. So yeah, the overall answers to I don't think they were anything that I didn't expect for the if that makes sense.
I was actually kind of surprised by a few things. And in my stream covering petrifying pumpkins, because I'm not in the Discord anymore. I just didn't. There's just too much. I didn't want to deal with it. It was overwhelmingly negative, and it was just annoying to constantly get pinged over BS, right? So I kind of just stepped away from it or whatever. But of course, there are so many content creators that are willing to bring forth a lot of information. And petrifying pumpkins, being a moderator for FCE in their Discord, of course, came forward with a lot of the questions that were presented, and he reviewed some of them. And of course, I felt obligated to respond to it by watching it myself and giving my own input, as I, do all the time. And I was actually surprised by a few things. One thing I was particularly pissed off about, okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, but instead of 1 minute wait time when everybody's in the lobby, you now have 2 minutes. You have to wait. You have to wait 2 minutes before the match starts. Now, reason being, and I suspect this is the reason being, is because now you're going to be in this now safe house, right? And within this safe house, they said that there's going to be a workbench for your guns, and that comes with the implication that there are going to be other benches or wardrobes or whatever to set up your contractor, select your contractor, weapons, shooting range, blah, blah, blah. So you're going to need time to run around and all that stuff. But
so even
2
if it was
minutes.
But keep in mind, so 2 minutes, but you're also going in for 3 rounds where you have to set up both an attack and a defense loadout.
This is something that we didn't expect, though. You can preload these things. In other words,
correct.
You can set it up so that when you're on attack, the game automatically recognizes you're on attack and gives you your attack loadout.
Correct.
And then you can set another one to defense, and once you go on defense, it automatically says, this isn't like pre-selecting a loadout. So it's like you finish your round of attack, it knows you're going to be on defense, so it automatically pre-selects your loadout.
It automatically selects. That's what I mean.
So that saves so much time.
Correct. So you need time to set up both one. So I can understand the increase in time limit, because if you have to set up a different loadout and you want to change up both loadouts, you're going to need extra time for that. And I think they wanted to make sure that there's time to be able to do that. So I can understand the increase in time.
But 2 minutes, bro.
Also,
let me just, before we move on from that, I just want to point out, like, there's a very clear trend that took place in Firewall, right? In 0 Hour. What took place in 0 Hour is that you pre-set up your loadouts, and let's not kid ourselves. There were metas, right? People ran with weapons that they enjoyed. They ran with utility items that they enjoyed. Yep. They had specific roles. Now, unless you played in League, it didn't really matter. But even in League, people didn't. They ran with whatever they wanted to run with. I don't know if there's going to be a meta. I don't know if weapon balancing is going to be nearly as good as how they made it at the end of the life cycle of 0 Hour.
I think the 2 minutes is going to go by as normally as it did. What's going on, man? And the reason for it is, if people left, you'd still have to wait that time.
But this is my concern. Concern, because people are going to leave and the lobby won't, or the game won't start. So if you get the dreaded 7 of 8, right, and the clock hasn't even started, you now have to wait for so many.
We dealt with that anyway, and I think part of the lobby downtime was where you had the most fun. Like, I mean, a lot of the stuff for the Scrub Squad was a lot of laughs. Were always in the lobby to begin with. That was, you go in there, you do the game, you have your hard comms, and then when you get out, that's when the fun happens. Right?
But do you see the conundrum here? Do you see the hypocrisy?
So, for me,
the game is supposed to be in-game fighting your opponents where the fun is supposed to take place. And you're saying the most fun is sitting in the lobby waiting for the rounds to start. Do you, like
But,
I get
I
that
mean,
they're
the
adding
social
like
aspect-
they're adding a best of 3 scenario, which is all well and cool,
Yeah.
and that's where like the fun's supposed to be. And even Petrifying Pumpkin said like like 1 minute wasn't even enough in 0 hour because to him he's like, well, I kept getting distracted with all the freaking conversations I was having. I never forgot to remember. I never remembered to set my loadout. I'm like, but that's not a mechanics issue. That's a personal issue.
Yeah, you can have 5 minutes. You're still going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But you can't ignore the social aspect of the game, though, because that's
absolutely
part of what
not.
makes the game.
I'm not ignoring the social aspect. But my point still stands, or at least in my mind, that 2 minutes to prepare. The only justification for 2 minutes instead of 1 minute is because now you have freedom to run around in an open space. So
Freedom to run around, you have to set up 2 loadouts.
Which I've already made before entering the safe house, mind you.
Yeah, but not necessarily.
I beg to differ. I feel like at the beginning it's going to feel at the beginning I feel like it's going to feel like 2 minutes is a decent amount of time.
I agree. But when they won't want to wait that long if they don't have to. However,
but when you get to level 50, 2 minutes is going to be way too long.
Yeah, I'm also not opposed to like a ready up button, which
and
could
you know
be something
it's funny because Petrifying Pumpkins, someone in his chat while he was live streaming this said the same thing. Crook here even says average player does not want to wait that long if they don't have to. So a ready up button would be great, but there is no indication that there is one. So we have to make judgments, or at least have certain feelings about the content that's given to us. And at present,
so like 2 minutes adds up if you're on the game for hours. Now, keeping in mind, it did add up. It did add up. However, I'm curious to know, because we're on dedicated servers now, we don't know much information on that, but there is a possibility of host migration where if there are 2 lobbies open of teams of 4, rather than having 2 lobbies open, they will join them.
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, that's a good thought. But
that is entirely a thing that should, in theory.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be logical. That actually makes a lot of sense, and that'd be very nice to have. Crook says ready up.
On a P2P network, that makes the things a little bit more difficult.
Well, for sure, because you need a dedicated host for P2P.
So yeah, and you can't.
But you're
not going to shuffle to. But yeah, it's entirely possible to do something like that on a dedicated server.
Here's a problem with what you say though, Crook. You say ready up and make it percent based, majority percent. The primary issue now, like let's say, like they will never have bots. Like they don't ever want bots in their games. They didn't do it with Solaris. They didn't do it with 0 hour. They're not going to do it with Ultra. So like, even if you were to do a percentage base, I mean that's all well and good.
You're saying like if 80%,
right? If 80% say ready, that they're going to drop the starting time down to 10, for example.
Yeah.
Like if there's a minute left and like 80% ready up, and they're like, okay, 10 seconds. Get ready. Yeah. I think that works. But without bots, it's almost like you're kind of sitting there waiting for 2 minutes. But there is no discussion.
You'd only be able to do that on full lobby, though.
And but I guess that's part of my concern is that the wait time already to fill the lobby is so significant. Like it won't be on launch. Let's be honest. Like the 0 hour, you didn't have that. Like even through night fail, like that, even people were still in the lobbies. It's just people just couldn't connect because of the server issue, right? Like,
hey, I think that was, people,
you were one of the few that streamed during night fail, man.
Night fail was a great time.
I'm pretty certain like the lobbies will be full. I have no doubt about it. This is one of the most highly anticipated games. I've even highly anticipated it, despite my very, very harsh criticisms and how like angry I sound when I say them. I still have high anticipation for this game.
So I guess that brings up a question that I have, and I've seen it a lot with other people, about the lack of change. Does that make sense? Like,
a lot of
it's
people feel like this
refresh.
is a reimagining of
refresh.
0 hour. But I want that part of like that opinion we're going to discuss today, because this new article that was posted on the PlayStation blog actually outlines a lot of really cool stuff, and the new video looks really good. And like I said, yeah, 0 hour 1 or 1.5.
1.5, yeah.
And there's a few things like I even like I said, I pre-read this, and I also pre-watched it, the video, and I have a list of timestamps that I kind of want to go over. But I don't feel like it's going to be 0 hour 1.5. I think this is going to be a genuine, 0 hour 2.0 or ultra. It's going to be a whole new game. And I'll explain that a little bit more when we discuss this stuff. But I wanted to preface all this conversation around this article today around the initial questions. A lot of people are concerned about, the amount of time it's going to take, the dedicated servers, what the PvE is going to look like, how the PvP is going to take hold. And someone had a genuine question as well. With the PvP now being a best of 3, we run into a situation which a lot of people were talking about in the Alvo League, particularly for playoffs. This was a big discussion point. The imbalance, right? Like if you start, let's say you're on a map that is heavily in favor of defense, and your first stance is on defense, then you play attack. Well, if you're still playing the same map that's heavily supporting of defense, how is that fair to the team that is initially attacking? So
but in league play,
these were some of the questions
about it. Yeah, in league play, if you think about it, right, everybody gets to choose their maps, right? So you would then at this point specify, say if you're picking your maps, or their maps, you would attack, or on their you specify the starting role, right? It wouldn't be left to like chance. And then at that point, you can base your maps and build your playstyle around the fact of knowing that, okay, it's best of 3. So if we do an attack and a defense, then if we are 1-on-1, then we're going to go back to attack. So we want our attack heavy maps to be that choice. We want our defense heavy maps to be this choice. So I think league play can work around that one fairly easily. Once we know for sure kind of how it plays out, I don't think that's going to be a problem to get around once you define exactly where people need to be based on their map picks.
Sure, on the league end of things, that can be worked into the rules and the balancing of those systems, and that's totally understandable. I'm thinking just for the common player, someone who is a casual, someone who isn't a sweat. They're going to go into this and be like, well, this is bullshit. I'm going on the new office map, which is Jesus Christ, Jesse. Oh my God, Pitch isn't hearing this.
I'm not.
It's defense heavy, right? But they have to start on the attack, right? Which means they have 2 rounds where they have to attack. So if they lose their first attack, they go on defense. Let's say they actually win their defense. They have to go back on attack.
You're just referring to just regular...
I'm talking just publics. I'm not talking about league. Yeah. I mean, in league, with league, there's always things that you can adjust. And plus, in private matches, I'm sure there are going to be options where you can adjust the amount of rounds and what have you. I have a feeling that from my conversation with the gents over there at FCE, I've got great confidence that there are going to be plenty of settings for league play so you can modify, private matches to your liking. I'm more concerned about what the person in his chat was referring to. In public matches, there are going to be maps that are heavily in favor of attack and maps heavily in favor of defense. And in a best of 3, it's not very balanced.
All right. So I would then argue and counter with, I would assume that if you say you start on attack, right? So you're going to attack the first map, you're going to defend the first map, then you're going to attack the first map, then you're going to go back to lobby. I would imagine something similar to what we have now. When you go back to lobby, it'll flip. And then you'll be on defense for the map, you'll be attack on the second, and then defend again on the second.
Yeah.
So in publics, it's not really any different when you think about it. If it's a defense-heavy map and you had 1 shot anyway, it's not really any different because come the next round, if you end up on the next map or the same map or whatever, it's just the regular RNG that we had to deal with anyway to begin with.
Yes,
where
but the
you would end up
difference
with a
is,
shoot house, and you're like, okay, well,
but
this is a loss.
here's the difference. In 0 hour, it was 1 round. 1 round would determine if you were the winner or the loser. You now have 3 rounds to determine who is the winner and who is the loser. And when you have the odds stacked against you because of the best of 3 composition, then at the end of the best of 3, that's when the winner is determined and when the loser is determined. Not after 1 round. You have to play in the best of 3 to determine who is the actual winner. So if you're like, so let's say you have like, I'm just saying like it's depending on the map choice, it could be heavily in favor of one or the other, which doesn't seem very balanced.
If it's heavily in favor of one or the other, it is irrelevant if you're doing a 1, a 3, or a best of 5. The numbers are relevant if the map is very heavily favored to one side. It's favored to that side anyway. Even if you're doing one map and you were attacking, it was a very heavily defended, like 98% defense rate. You make a good point, but then that brings into question why even add the rounds then. I mean, part of the argument is because people wanted to stay in the game longer, even though your previous statement indicated that the most fun was had in the lobby, not actually shooting people. Why even add the extra rounds then? I guess that's my question. Well, people obviously play the game. Obviously, one of the biggest complaints was like you said, if you have all your loadouts and everything ready to go and done and you have your selections, then they wanted to be able to just go into the game rather than have to wait. The longer you wait, the more risk of people leaving. So it'll mitigate some of those, right? If people are going to leave, they're going to leave anyway. But at least if they play, you have them for at least 3 games, you would think, unless somebody's like full out, hard closing the app. But I think you're going to get people are trying to mitigate that point, right? Where you go in, you got 3 games, and then you go back to the lobby. It's going to, and like I said, I don't think that 2 minutes is going to feel anywhere incredibly beyond anything. It's just no different than if you're sitting in the lobby and you were chatting with people and somebody leaves and you're waiting for people to come back, especially if you have things to do in the shooting range and in the starting area, this lobby area. I don't think it's going to be that, at least not in the early points. I don't think it's going to be.
The novelty will likely wear off over time
at some point. But again, I think the social aspect picks up on that a lot.
Now, I'm obviously playing devil's advocate here because I haven't had my hands on it and I don't know how things are going to proceed. Just like no one else does. It was all done internally, right? They did all the testing internally. So these are just concerns based off of our given knowledge and experience with 0 hour and how that might translate into Ultra. Now, I'm playing devil's advocate because there is a very large community that is heavily concerned about some of the decisions that FC have made and that favor these decisions. Now, there's a lot, and I was concerned too, and I still am kind of concerned, knowing how I just want to get into the action. I'm already going to set myself up. I don't feel like I'll need the 2 minutes, but I won't know until I'm actually in there. Now, some of the things that are talked about in this article that I'm going to read, it actually makes me feel better about some of the decisions they're making and how the flow of the game is going to go. And I figure this would be a good transitional period. Now, if you're interested in a lot of those questions that were asked, go join the Discord, the First Contact Entertainment Discord. Check out the question section yourself, and read them. Create your own interpretation and come up with your own thoughts and beliefs about some of the answers that were provided. If you want to watch my video, I did it a couple of days ago. You can still find it here on my YouTube channel, and it should still be available on my Twitch channel. And you can kind of see where my head was at the time. I get very heated, but I also point out things that I am really excited for. But I really want to get into this new stuff because this new stuff is actually quite exciting to hear. And it actually makes me feel really good. The one thing that I'll talk about the eye tracking later, but that's still one of my biggest greatest concerns of them all. But this was posted today, very, very early. And the title is Firewall Ultra launches this week. Get a preview of the post-launch roadmap. Now, the roadmap is a big thing because this is obviously a live service, and everybody knows that with a live service, there needs to be a reason to stick around and play it. 0 Hour has always had a reason, even when it first launched in August 28th, 2018. I'm pretty certain Nightfall had launched in March of 2019, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was around that time. It was about a month after I started playing it. Yeah,
so the original base game of 0 Hour was pretty bare bones. You had, what was it, 3, 6, 9, I think 12 contractors in total. You had a select few guns from assault rifles, shotguns, pistols, and then you had some basic utility items. Once Nightfall hit, it was an entire overhaul of the entire game, which broke the game for the entire operation season, which operation seasons are about 3 months long. But people still played it, and they came back, and there were a lot of really good things, a lot of really good changes that they made to the game, and it sustained the population and the life, the life cycle of the game. So I have no concerns for Ultra, as Firewall 0 Hour is still alive and well and thriving. You guys can find it on the Twitch channel or in the Twitch category. You can find people playing and streaming all the time. And even if they're not streaming, you can go into the Firewall 0 Hour app on your PlayStation 4, or you can download on your PS5 using the adapter for your PS4 One headset, and you can hop right in, and you're almost guaranteed to find a lobby. So 0 Hour is still live and strong 5 years later. Okay, so I have no concerns that Ultra will sustain the popularity and love that the original had. But having a post-launch roadmap this early is something we didn't have in 0 Hour. In fact, we didn't even have it at all. We really didn't have a roadmap at all.
No.
We had a basic understanding of what the operations were. That, after the first operation of Nightfall, we got a new contractor, a new weapon, and a new map. Did that happen every single time? For a long time, it did. And then a few operations in, all of a sudden, content didn't come out nearly as much. We didn't get maps as frequently.
Well, I wouldn't say...
We got skills, but we didn't get new contractors necessarily. Okay. We got new weapons, we got new legendaries, and we got new camos, right? So, we still got stuff. Yeah. So it's not like we didn't get nothing from the operations. There was still something to do, but we didn't have a roadmap. So it's nice to know that we have a post-launch roadmap pre-launch. David Janot, I'm pretty certain that's how you pronounce his name. He actually was over at Upload VR, and he has been employed by First Contact Entertainment to be their communications manager. So I have expressed many, many times how much I don't care about this guy. He left a sour taste in my mouth because, I don't know. I think he's an entitled person who thinks that he knows better than everybody else. That's my opinion, and that's from my personal experience with the guy. So he can fuck right off. But he writes well, okay? He's very good at writing an article, and he does get his news.
But he's still an asshole.
But he's still an asshole, yeah. As a person, he's a
I haven't
dick.
had any interactions with him. So.
As a person, he left a sour taste in my mouth, and until I have a positive reaction with him, I don't know. My opinion might not change. But when it comes to work and writing an article, the dude knows how to write an article, and he also knows how to do his research. My only concern is that I don't think he played 0 Hour very much, if at all, because Upload VR was not very big into PSVR. They didn't promote it. They didn't talk about it a lot, and they most certainly did not talk about 0 Hour, despite it being the most prominent and well-sustained title for Sony on the PSVR headset.
Talk about it does not necessarily mean that they didn't play it.
The way they talk about it indicates to me that they didn't play it.
I guess I don't really know what they said about it.
They didn't understand some of the basic things. They knew the core stuff that anyone else can learn by reading an article. That's about as much as they knew. And I'm saying this from someone who stopped playing but remained invested. You know how that is. Anyway, so this is what David writes, okay? He says, the road to launch is nearing its end and the release of Firewall Ultra almost upon us. On the 24th, players will be able to dive into the incredible new world we've created for the first time. Can't wait to see everyone in game practicing their aim at the shooting range, battling it out with other contractors online, and crafting their ideal loadout at the weapon bench. Now, this whole thing is really cool. We're walking away from this PC screen UI look that we have had and come to love for the past 5 years, and we're moving to a workbench. And they're saying workbench, so I'm assuming it's a physical bench where your contractor places down the gun, pulls shit off of the walls, attaches it. There's probably some sort of pre-rendered animation to detach things and then reattach them. That's my assumption. Either way, it's going to look as though you're interacting with the world more than just clicking some buttons in a PC window. Firewall Ultra is a dense game, and we think you're going to love finally getting to dig into what we've got in store and to really show you we've been cooking blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we're going to watch this at the end because it's the huge talking point. We actually get to see a new map called Crossroads in it. Very exciting, but it's going to look very, very familiar, in my opinion. I'll explain why later, but we'll watch that at the end.
You know what? Now that you said that, I think I already know where you're going with that.
Okay, I'm interested to know.
It wasn't until you said that I kind of thought about it.
Well, I think a lot of maps draw inspiration from each other, particularly based on the region in which they're based. So it kind of makes sense. But
yeah.
If you played the first game in the franchise, 0 Hour, you might recognize some of these locations. Since Firewall Ultra takes place in the same universe as 0 Hour did, albeit 5 years later, and I think they made it 5 years later intentionally, right? Because it's been 5 years since 0 Hour, first released. And now the universe is taking place 5 years after. Makes complete sense.
Both literally and in game.
Yep.
Yeah.
The world has seen some changes. The interior layout of the office map is renovated and ransacked, and you'll find some new tunnels and pathways in the iconic bunker location. You'll also see other maps in game have evolved. Now, I have some timestamps that point out some of these changes, and I'm curious to know if you see the same thing or agree with my interpretation or not, but we'll get to that after we watch the video. Launch content. In total, there will be 8 different maps. This is actually one less than the original launch set of 0 Hour, but honestly, that's okay. 8 is a good number, and I think people are going to be spending a lot of time digging their teeth into these maps, checking out all the nooks and crannies, seeing what there is available in these maps, because they are going to be much larger, and they would have to be. Now that they actually have a sniper rifle in the game, it makes sense. Each map is fully playable in both the 4v4 PvP mode and contracts, so like the PvE mode, which is exfil. You can read more about the new mode here. So like exfil is pretty much, from what I understand, in a team of 4, you're going to a site and you have to hack 3 different laptops. And the upside is that this is auto-generated. So you're never going to find the laptops in the same sequence almost ever. I mean, the number of options are not infinite,
it depends on how many spawn locations that they actually have per map.
Well, they're touting a lot. Like, you're not going to run into the same circumstance. Now, once you hack all those locations, then you have to escape through an evac site, which we will actually see in the trailer. So I'm not going to spoil any of that. Since Firewall Ultra is designed to be as dynamic as possible, things like objectives and spawn points for AI enemies will shift and change each time in the PvE mode, so it's always fresh and exciting, which makes me think of a roguelite type situation where you enter a map, it looks similar, but it's never the same. It's kind of along those lines. The AI are never always going to spawn in the same spot. They might have different pathways that they walk, different routes. You're going to have laptops in different positions. I'm assuming your evac site will probably always be the same, because that would make sense, right? Like if you're on oil rig, your evac site is never going to be off helipad, right?
You would think.
Now it could possibly,
some places there could be.
It could possibly change. You never know. But I would assume that wherever you spawn is probably where you're going to evac. Perhaps most interesting though is that we're showing off the first look of a brand new map. It's called Crossroads. This map takes place on the streets of a Middle Eastern city shortly after local rebels were in a firefight and led to civilian evacuation. There are multiple buildings that you can enter, and you'll notice some of them were being used as cells for rebel operations, while others are typical domestic residences and businesses. Now, here's an interesting point. This is not a new idea for FCE. In fact, for 0 Hour, there was intention to make District even more interactable than it actually was. Yeah. I remember them saying that they had every intention of making some of those buildings enterable, like you get into them, defend from them, attack from, whatever, right? But due to the limitations of the hardware, they couldn't do that. Well, here they're finally realizing their original vision, it seems, and you're going to be able to get into these buildings, which is really cool. It's going to create a dynamic that we wouldn't otherwise see, and we actually get to see some of it in the video. What are your thoughts about this?
So, you're talking about the image or the little slideshow thing they got going on here?
Kind of the concept of like opening up the world to various buildings and stuff.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see if that has an effect for like actual. Are people going to be hiding in houses like for flanking? That could be like something. So like it kind of adds a question, like a layer of like flanking and hiding. It becomes a much more viable. Like if you don't clear a house, there's a possibility somebody comes out from behind you and just lays out an entire team. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to, as people say, Firewall slow to begin with. I think it's going to potentially slow it down a little bit more.
Oof.
Because now there's going to be more stuff to watch out for. There's going to be more things you're going to have to keep an eye on. Risk versus reward, right?
Now, on the upside of that, though, I mean, we hear the word Firewall's going to be slowed down, and everybody's like, are you fucking kidding me? It's already a drag. But let's think of it this way. It's not the same kind of tension. In 0 Hour, you have a general idea of where your opponent's spawning, right? At one point, like a year or two in, everybody knew where their opponent was spawning. So you could take up position. Now, with the maps being larger, for one, and buildings having egress, you now have so much more variability in the gameplay. People are going to do different things. Plus, you have a different lighting system. So people could be hiding in the dark. I think the tension is going to change the dynamic in general. And it may feel slow, but now the slow gameplay is going to feel like it matters. It's going to have value.
So, like I said, think about it as the fact of like, so there's going to be like, you can get in these houses, you can go upstairs. There are balconies. Spoiler alert, you can get on top of balconies. If you haven't watched the video, well, we're going to be watching it at some point, I assume. So, spoiler alert, you can get up on balconies, which means watching or going down certain streets is going to be something that you're going to have to watch now and keep an eye out. I think it's going to be... It's one of those things where like you have to stay together tight as a team, potentially. Going off on your own, again, like I said, risk versus reward. If you can flank properly and get away with it, then great. But I think separating could potentially be the doom. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Like I said, I think it's going to make things, people being a little bit more cautious and a little bit slower going up something and like they're going to have to sweep certain things, certain areas that could potentially be problems.
Yeah, because
so it's going to be interesting to see how this plays.
Because you're combining the elements of District, which feels like an open section of a city, with a map like Compound, which is primarily based inside. You could shoot out windows, shoot over balconies, and now you're shoving those two types of concepts together. Okay. Whereas in Compound, you had to look up, watch the railings, you had to look through windows, you had to check all the doors, right? You had to check all the sills, you had to move cautiously around the compound on the outside if you wanted to survive. But now you have the openness that is District, and now you're combining the two. So the buildings that you walk by in District that are now open, you have to be watching the windows, you got to be watching the staircases, you got to be watching everything.
Like, imagine dead sticking like every corner. Mm-hmm. right? And it's like every corner you come to, you're gonna have the dead stick and try to zigzag in and out, and assuming dead sticking is still a thing, right? And be able to look and see around every corner if you can see anything. If anybody, fires a shot, do you notice anything? So
And what makes matters worse, which is something that we didn't talk about, they're doing away with the chevrons. You remember how the game started where everybody's name was over their head? And if you had an extra long name, it would stick around the corner before you even got to the corner. You remember that shit? That. And so they were like, okay, that was a problem. So they added chevrons. There are no chevrons. They gave everybody bear's skill. Okay? Yep. So it's removed the chevrons, which means...
Chevrons are gone.
You are going
to have names over their head.
And you're going to be dependent on using your eyes to try to find your opponent and using your ears, and stealth is going to be a very critical element in this game because you've got the very dark darks, you got the different corners, you have the different buildings you can enter, and you have no chevron as an indicator as to where you are. So again, this is why I'm excited, because despite all the flaws that I think some of the, that the devs have kind of made a decision on, I think they are flaws in terms of some of the mechanics, and they're going to be critical ones. It's not going to take away from the effectiveness and the intensity of the game. Anyway, let's move on, and we'll just continue to talk about some of these things. There's a ton of variety in the map, in this map, with lots of environment storytelling to digest if you explore and soak it all in. A few points I do want to bring up that we'll see in the video. Whereas 0 Hour, they said that there was a story built into the environment, but no one ever knew what it was. So hopefully that changes a little bit, especially now with the PvE. Firewall Ultra is a live service game, which means we have a robust plans for post-launch support across all facets of the game from top to bottom. But we're still delivering a deep, immersive, and robust game from day one, packaged with content to sink your teeth into. Beyond the default loadouts, you'll find you can also create your own custom loadouts, which is nothing new. And this means once you unlock new weapons and equipment by purchasing them in-game from our Black Road dealers using crypto, this kind of answers Karen's question, are they going to give you crypto and is it actually going to be useful?
Well,
our in-game currency, you can kit them out with new attachments, camo paint, and more to craft your ideal arsenal. We've got everything from assault rifles, submachine guns, shotguns, pistols, sniper rifles, and more. And don't forget, you still have time to pre-order. Because if you pre-order, you can get the X75 legendary weapon.
So I think Karen's question was more to, because the problem with, I shouldn't say the problem, but like crypto, as far as Firewall 0 Hour went, once you'd leveled up, crypto was basically useless, right? So, and that was always a thing. Like, is there a potential to add something that the crypto could even have a meaning for, right? So if you say level 50, assuming level 50 is a cap, let's just make that assumption for fun. Let's say level 50, you stop earning crypto, or you earn crypto in a much less
lower format, rate.
At a lower rate. Right? So let's say you were to be able to take this crypto now and use it as, even, I get they wouldn't do this because there's a whole lot of other things involved, but let's say like you could wager crypto on games.
So in-game currency gambling.
Yes. And at least then, like, if you have 6 million crypto, you could be like, I have 6 million crypto because I did all of this waging, and it's kind of like this. I don't want to say gambling because as you say gambling in the game, that calls for lawsuits, which is why they'll never call it gambling.
In-game trading,
unless you're
in-game waging,
unless you're GTA, but somehow you get away with it.
Contractors can employ each other for services.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, at least then, like, having X amount of crypto kind of like is something in its own rightful boast in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like so it gives you a status.
Yeah.
Like
it's like, how much crypto
symbol.
do you have? Like, oh yeah, because I did all this waging and I've won whatever. Like, you waged on for what?
I'm the greatest contractor for hire.
You know what I mean? Like, if you could like place bets on like not dying that round, or like you may place a bet saying you're going to kill like 2 people. Like, wouldn't that be a cool little thing? Like, at least then it has a purpose.
Yeah.
Even if it's just to generate itself, but at least it's something to.
So the value isn't so much in like what it
points.
can earn you. It's
like
how
Twitch
to
points.
earn
They're
the
useless.
Crypto.
Right? Yeah, exactly. It's like Twitch points. They're useless. Really, they have no value.
Well, here's my
create
thought.
a value with them.
Here's my thought. With every new season, all the skins, all the stuff that you could possibly get, trinkets, equipment, whatever it may be, to get all of it, you must have a certain amount. Imagine they set that as the cap. So like for this season, it's going to, if you want everything, if you want to earn everything by just playing the game, it's going to cost you this much crypto. If you reach that threshold, then you earn no more crypto. Because you have enough crypto to get everything. And then people won't have to worry about the crypto.
Yeah,
I think if you cap it and then you're like, okay, this is all that you need, then it kind of you're like, okay, then I'm gonna earn till I cap, and then I just go and buy everything.
Yeah. I guess. And Karen, so 2 things in chat there. Kirk says First Contact responded to someone on Twitter saying if they're going to add, asking if they're going to add prone, and First Contact said not right now. I really hope they don't do that because it will completely change the game and influence people to really choose the game. I don't see them adding a prone. I know they see not right now, but I feel like that's like just like an answer of like, I don't know if that would be on their roadmap.
So here's my thought, if I can interject here. My thought is this: there was a heated debate about the Hess's statement about the concept of fun and how manual reloading isn't fun, right?
Which, by the way, I could not find that actual tweet.
It wasn't a tweet. It was a comment on Petrifying Pumpkin's video. So that would be
why I couldn't find it.
That would be why you couldn't find it, because it was on a
I thought it was a tweet.
So the reason why they didn't want manual reloading in was because they didn't think that would be fun. Now, with all the heated backlash, they said that they have always kind of considered it, but it wouldn't be part of the base game. In other words, if you were to solo queue in Publix, the base game would be automatic reload, right? You have pre-rendered reload animation, similar to what we have with 0 Hour. If they were to add prone or manual reload, I believe it would all be additional stuff that you can add to a private game. Accessibility settings that you can only access in the private sector. That's that's going to come into play, like team damage. You know, like
I can't see
friendly fire. Like if they're going to add a mechanic, they've talked about friendly fire and they talked about manual reload.
They have,
and they said that would be in a more hardcore base mode and probably very much tied to the private sector. If they were to add, and this is a huge if they were ever to add prone, it would be an accessibility option only in the private.
So here's the deal, and here's why I struggle to believe that would be a thing. You and I both know on the back end of things, okay?
Mm-hmm.
To make a hardcore mode in a private option where friendly fire is a thing is one thing to add. To create a prone and all of everything that goes along with it, strictly for the purposes of, if you want to use it in private, is an awful lot of development for if you want to use it.
Exactly. That's why I said,
and that's why I struggle to think that they would do that. Not saying that they wouldn't. I don't see them spending the time to develop it on something that we're going to go, here's this massive overhaul. I say overhaul, but like, you gotta remember, like rigging, animations,
clipping issues,
proper
orientation of the IK.
Like, there's a ton of shit that would go along with it.
Yeah,
and like, here's a thing that's not in the 90. I don't want to say 90%.
It's arbitrary.
A majority of people that are playing just the regular Publix, but we're going to do this massive overhaul for like the small hardcore team, which honestly, again, even of your 10% hardcore people that are going to do privates, how many of that 10% are actually going to say we're going to use prone as an option? So you cut that number down even more.
Okay, let's talk about the games, the current VR games that actually have a prone in it. There are two that I can think of. Crook, you would know better than I would.
Three.
But I don't know if Contractors has prone. Do they?
Oh, sorry. What two were you thinking of?
Onward and Alvo. Those are the two that I know.
Sorry.
And I don't believe Veil has it either. Pavlov does not.
Sorry,
I don't believe
right.
Contractors
I was thinking
does.
of Onward because I know that one, like there's another one.
Yeah, I didn't think there was no prone. I didn't think there was prone on Contractors. Yeah,
there
I didn't
is.
think so.
There is
and then there's
one.
Zero Caliber, but I don't think they have prone. Well, maybe Zero Caliber has prone. But the difference is that in Onward,
there was two games I remember Venny showing me, where one was Onward, but the other one was this very similar military sim, where it was like you have to crouch, you have to kneel, you have to do all
physically do it.
Yeah, I forget what it was.
Well, if it did exist or does exist, it's not as well known. But I know in Onward,
I remember when he told me about it. I was like, oh, I haven't really.
Particularly in regards to the elite players, a lot of them actually do physically go prone. But you have to think about the differences in these titles, right? Like Firewall 0 Hour has a TTK similar to that of like, I don't know, CSGO, in the sense that there's body armor, right? So you have to hit quite a bit before you can actually drop someone.
I was trying to figure out like how to best compare it, but that
because it's not Call of Duty. Because Call of Duty is so variable.
Yeah.
Depending on who developed that Call of Duty, you could have a quick TTK, or you could have a slow TTK. Like Infinity Ward has a higher TTK than Sledgehammer does. Sledgehammer has a lower TTK, and it's just faster gameplay. So you look at Onward. Onward has such a low TTK. You get shot, you're pretty much dead.
Yeah.
It's realistic in that sense. Alvo is closer to that. It's a much faster TTK, but it's also way faster paced. So when you apply a prone status to either one of these games, Onward being as as dangerous as it is to pop yourself out of cover, to go prone makes sense because you get one shot, you get it. If you get caught, you're screwed. Right? Like, so you have to play very, very strategically. You don't have any other chance. So you are going to sit a little bit longer. In Alvo, you can move so fast that if you're in a prone state and you get found, you can pop right up and sprint out of there, right? Firewall isn't like that. Firewall is like you have a higher TTK, but all the movement is slower, just in general. So you'd have to think, to get out of the prone animation, you have to have a pre-rendered animation of standing up and then being able to move, which is sluggish to begin with. It wouldn't make sense to me. You know what I'm saying? So, like, to me, I think a prone status is very unlikely. But if they do add it,
I don't think so.
I think it's very unlikely. If they were to add it, it would be like just a offshoot thing that they're like, yeah, we had time for it. We might as well throw it in.
Which, I don't see a development team like FCE. I'm saying
wasting resources on it. Yeah,
right,
I wouldn't see them do it.
Especially when like they already have plans for Solaris 2. They've got other things to do. They've already got a 1-year roadmap on this to begin with. I don't see them putting in a game breaking. I say game breaking because it's a massive, massive change of gameplay to put something in prone, and especially if it's only available for privates. That makes zero sense on a development level.
It ends up becoming a luxury piece rather than a functional piece, But speaking of roadmap, why don't we get into that? Now we also know that since Firewall Ultra is a live service game and we're including access to one post-launch operation pass with the deluxe Digital Deluxe Edition. I don't know what anyone else got, but that's the one I got. You probably want to know what content is included. So here we go. Below is the chart. So I'm not going to read this entire freaking paragraph. Let's just look at this chart. Okay, I wish I could blow it up. I probably could. Why don't we zoom in? Yeah, let's just zoom in. Okay, make it a little bit bigger.
It's pretty straightforward if you remember any operation from Firewall 0 Hour.
Yeah. So they don't actually have, here's an interesting thing. And maybe it's just not showing on the roadmap, but I don't see any operation names here. You remember how it was like Operation Nightfall,
Correct.
Heartland?
They
Syndicate.
will probably have names for them. They just haven't released them. They're
We'll
just
see.
saying we have 4 operations, but there's a more. It would make sense for them to name the operations because let's be honest, they named operations before. Operations in general have a name. I just don't think that either A, they don't have a name yet, or they haven't settled on a name, or B, they're just keeping that until release.
Yeah, I kind of have a feeling that they're going to be saving it. Why put it on the roadmap? This is simple enough.
Yeah.
Like this is just getting the information out. But I do find it interesting that they're not showcasing even like an inkling of it. Like it's super sealed, right? Like they're not going to reveal any of that. But you can see with all the operations,
this is pretty revealing for what?
Yeah, for an entire year, right? So like you get 60
Right.
rewards in total, 1 contractor plus their given skill, 1 extra weapon, and amongst other rewards. And now it says encrypted, and I'm assuming that's because it's going to have the tier system that we had in 0 Hour, where you have
So you're gonna have to
the free
complete a quest.
you're going to have the free, I forget what the next level is, and then you're going to have the premium, right? So you have the 3 tiers within the operation. So you're going to get a couple of additional stuff. And this is the same for every season within the year, right? So it's 3 months per operation. But what are these bars down here? What does this mean? This is just a general additions section. In other words, for everybody, we're getting 2 new maps in 2 new co-op modes. So when I said PvE is going to be a big thing,
that is sometime in the year with no specific.
Mm-hmm.
It could be 3 months, could be 9 months.
But when I said that PvE was going to be like the thing that I think is going to distinguish this from 0 Hour, this is what I mean. Right now we have the exfil mode, right? Which is you go in, you hack the information, and you escape.
Yeah.
There's going to be 2 more modes coming. This is huge. This is huge.
Can you believe there was actually a PvE? Like there were people that actually played Firewall for the PvE aspect.
Yeah, I do. I do because I played with some of them. I did PvE every once in a while.
Yeah.
And if you did it solo, there were times that it was kind of difficult. But if you did it with a squad, unless your squad mates sucked, which I'll be honest, Titch, the majority of them did suck. They were terrible. They were really bad players.
I think I played it like 4 times.
They were really bad players, man. So it was difficult to try to keep their asses alive while also trying to complete the mission. But it was the same as the PvP. Like you either attacked or you defended. This is going to be dynamic in the sense that you have to attack 3 different laptops. How are you going to do that as a squad of 4? Are you going to send three players or 3 squad members to each laptop? Are you all going to move together? Are you going to split off into certain groups? Like how are you going to attack these laptops? And then there very well could be sub-objectives because within the PvE, from some of the information that's been provided, there are some additional operations that you can do, which will get you more crypto and more rewards. So within the co-op mode, there's plenty more to do rather than just hack the laptops. So I'm excited for whatever the 2 new co-op modes are. Obviously very tight-lipped. They're not going to reveal this. Sony doesn't want to let this information out. But I think this is what's going to separate Ultra from 0 Hour, whereas 0 Hour has everything was the same game mode, same thing over and over, no matter you played PvP or PvE. Here, PvP, high skill, exactly what you would expect, best of 3. It's different from 0 Hour. And then the PvE, you're going to have 3 different kinds of game modes.
So let me ask you this. What are your thoughts, or what do you think a co-op mode could be or could look like?
So
we already know what the exfil is, but what other
there's
co-op modes could there potentially be?
So another one is escort missions. So you go in, you save a civilian or you save someone of significant importance, and you try to evac them. And another one is like a control. Like you have to go in, you have to secure a zone, right? So let's say you need a breach, and I don't know what I can't think of what the game mode is called, but you pretty much you are brought into a site, and then you have to take over the entire site. So kind of like a very stealthy breaching kind of mission, and it's a significant area. So like imagine if you were to be driven in some sort of I don't know, transportation vehicle, you're dropped off at compound, and there are guards strewn all about compound. But you know, you have them on the exterior, you have them on the interior, and then you have them strewn all about, and you have to try to take over all of that and eliminate the essentially compound boss. So I think those are two potentials. But you know, I'm if there's King of the Hill, I don't know, because that'd be co-op. You know,
King of the Hill,
co-op is more you
that
against
would be
AI.
like you. That would be like, say you got dropped in. Like this would be another similar co-op concept. You get dropped into an area, you have to go to an area, you have to secure it, then you have to hold it, and the waves would get stronger.
Yeah,
essentially, and you have to hold it for so long until like
reinforcements come.
Reinforcements arrive.
Yeah,
yeah, like
so
something like that would be interesting.
And they kind of already had that dynamic in Exfil, because when you actually are evacuating, you're going to have waves at like once you get to the evac zone, you're not just going, the game's not just going to end. The floods and waves of enemies are going to be coming at you until your evac arrives.
Okay, I didn't read about that part.
Yeah, so it's going to be
okay,
but you could still have that because you have to go in and secure a zone. So you take my concept of being dropped off, securing a zone, and then you take that evacuation concept and add it to the end. Now you have a different
reinforcements. Now it's just reinforcements arriving
rather than evac. So it's totally doable. I don't know. I'm interested to see what they are, but at least we know that there will be 2 other game modes. I mean, if they're revealing it this early on, we can suspect that they've already got the majority of those modes kind of like in, you know, through the process.
100%. They're not going to be like 2 new co-op modes. Okay, guys, we got to figure out what co-op modes we're going to.
Game mode number 1.
Bring the whiteboard over right quick.
What is it going to be? Frank, any ideas?
Yeah, no. That's obviously, they already know what it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
They obviously it's in development. But yeah.
So, in the paragraph below, kind of explaining these operations a little bit more, it says, as you can see, it will include 60 rewards it can unlock by completing assignments. Those rewards will be a mixture of an additional contractor. So with these operations, you can get the contractor, as it says in there. A new equipable skill, 1 weapon, new weapon attachment, cosmetics, in-game currency, and boosters to help make your time. So every time I hear boosters, I'm thinking, are they going to bring back the hack keys? I would love if they brought back the hack keys, because that's what I used every operation. I have everything you could possibly get in 0 hour, from its initial launch and what was in the store, which you can't get in the store anymore because they're no longer there. I have literally every item you can get in 0 hour, and it's all thanks to the hack keys. There has been no mention of hack keys, and I really hope that boosters, to which they're referring, is something to that effect.
No, I don't think so, because if you read the sentence, because it says 60 rewards, it says those rewards will be a mixture of contractor, skill, weapon, attachments, cosmetics, in-game currency, and boosters. And it wouldn't make sense for them to give hack keys as rewards. So the boosters then...
But it says to make your in-game more efficient.
Correct.
So is that XP boosters? Is that crypto boosters?
That's what I'm wondering. Like, you imagine having... I hope they don't do this. I really hope they don't do this. But imagine like having a booster where it's like either A, gives you additional run speed, or gives you I don't know,
limited
give
recoil.
additional firepower. You know, exactly, right? Like
Swift
recoil,
swift hands. Remember swift hands?
right?
Faster reload.
So, I hope they don't do that. To be honest, and the reason I say I hope they don't do that because that really turns the game into almost a pay to win.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't say pay to win in that regard. Like, it's
because
not like,
you're
do that,
earning it, right?
But you're getting an advantage over someone. So I'm very curious to know what the boosters that will make your in-game more efficient. And I can understand that if it's like a 2 times experience booster or a 2 times crypto, those would make sense as boosters. I would hope that they wouldn't do anything that would be anything to affect the actual in-game play.
Yeah.
And like I said, to make them more efficient, I could make it like, say, like a booster of, if you have to get like 8 kills for a mission, right? So the booster might be every kill is like considered 2 for the operation. Like, you're not affecting the actual game, but you're making your games more efficient for the operations.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
So maybe with like crypto booster, now you can get that new gun that you were trying to save up for faster.
Yeah. Like I said, but it's interesting how they word that boosters to make your time in game more efficient. It says your time in game more efficient. So it's something you would have to work on. So it would speed up that process.
Which is why I was thinking hack keys, because it takes time to complete these operations.
I guess, yeah.
I'm not saying that that's what it's going to be, but there's been no talk of hack keys. Whereas before, hack keys were a big thing. And they were a big thing for me.
They were. And that's another thing that wouldn't make sense to me on the development level. You have a community that's well known for purchasing your hack keys. And listen, I'm not saying that, hey, FCE, you can make a money
profit off of this.
Here. But like, it would make sense that they would, if it would make sense for them to use that properly as that in that regard, rather than just being like, we'll just make it free after charging everybody all the time. We know that they're going to pay and everything. So
yeah,
give me 1 second. My wife is at the door.
Sure. So we'll finish out this article. There's not a lot left here. I just want to read this one last paragraph here. It says, separate from the operations, we've also got plans to support the game with new gameplay features, which curious to know what those features are going to be. That could be a plethora of different things. And other improvements that will roll out gradually to all players. Additionally, we're planning to release 2 new maps, which we know about, that will be available in both PvE and PvP, and 2 new co-op PvE modes. All of that will be available at no charge. And this is one thing that I got to applaud FCE on, is that they really don't charge for anything. All this content is rolled out. Like, a lot of people bitch and complain about not having new maps in 0 hour. And I kept thinking to myself, do you not realize how many maps there are? Do you not realize how many guns there are? Do you not realize how much content is in this game? And you're asking for more? I mean, this is the 0 hour was one of the longest lasting live service PSVR 1 games, period. It is the longest lasting. I don't hear anyone talking about playing a 1v1 competitive Farpoint. I don't hear talk about any other title for PSVR 1 that people continuously play over and over and over. So when people were bitching about getting new stuff, I'm like, listen, they're likely working on an Ultra, which, by the way, like I said in my other stream, I did sign an NDA, so I knew about a lot of said information. But the reality is like, there's going to be an end to a game's life cycle, right? It's got to end, and content is going to thin out.
But even when things did slow down and there was like a lull between the operations, I had said then that the life cycle had made sense, that the development for Firewall and because it's Sony IP, right? The development cycle had reached a point where FCE was under contract to develop the game to that point. And I think operations after that point were under negotiation. And that's why we didn't have a very seamless transition between those operations that we had seen with the previous ones. and it was a negotiation between Sony and FCE for doing more than what was in the original development cycle, and that made sense.
If you order the digital deluxe edition, it will include an early unlock for certain contractors: Miko, Skip, Fang, and Node. We also know of the new contractor Havoc, and Diaz is also making a return. So these are all the characters that we know about right now. And with that being said, I think it is safe to watch the new trailer. And so this is how we're gonna proceed, folks. Okay, we're gonna watch the new trailer. I'm gonna make this. I'm at 1440 by 60. Okay, I'm going all in here. Okay.
And then we're gonna go back and like pause a million places.
Yes, I can tell you specifically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have a lot of different timestamps here, folks, but there's a lot to actually digest. And when you watch the video, you'll see there's quite a lot compacted into a minute.
There's more. Yeah, I watched it a couple of times because it was like every time you watched it, you have to focus on different things. Not what it is that they're showing you. And if you focus sort of beyond that, you're like, oh.
There's a lot of really cool stuff. But anyway, here we go. The Firewall Ultra launch trailer for PSVR 2. Enjoy.
30 seconds remain.
Okay, so I don't know if that's the new theme song or not, but pretty dope ass song, I must say. So initial thoughts, I'll give you my initial thoughts. When I first saw that, I was like, God damn, that looks good. Like visually, theatrically, it looks good, man. Like you cannot sit here, despite your feelings towards FCE and despite your feelings towards the community, you cannot sit here and watch this video and be like, nah, that shit don't look good. Are you kidding me?
It does. But it's weird because it does look good, but then there's some spots where you don't notice. And you know me, like whenever I do anything, right? Like I always pick apart the finer details. One of the reasons I could never do this, right? Not for a living, is because I would spend far too much time on things that are really irrelevant, but because I know they're there, I have to fix them.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things that like I was like, oh, and it's one of those things where like you kind of have to go back and you have to, again, it's one of those things where you have to go back, you have to watch the thing. Yo, what's going on, Pete? Yeah. So that's the only thing.
So to speak to Crook's concern about the frame rate, there are a few things that you have to keep in mind. Usually when you see videos like this, a lot of this stuff was recorded weeks or months ago. Okay? Because they have to get good content with a build that they're comfortable with showcasing.
Wasn't it like at least well over 2-3 months ago, 2 months ago, I want to say, where they had said that they had they did just finish the recording for the trailer. Let me go back. I can probably
see if you can find it. But in my experience with this kind of stuff, recording takes place usually weeks or months in advance to get the shots that you need to get them captured at a resolution that would be appropriate, because you got to have high resolution to ensure that your game is represented the way you want it to. And you also have to remember the compression rate of YouTube. Regardless of how good the uploading is and the visual quality that you can get, there is still a compression value applied to whatever video that you upload. So this could affect the resolution, even though I have a 4K on a screen that can upscale to that. It's it's only going to look as good as YouTube will allow me to see it, and the same with the frame rate, right? So I suspect that I'm not concerned about the frame rate. I think they're going, because it is a Sony IP, they're going to ensure that it meets the minimum standards, if not higher than what is necessary. So in my opinion, yes, is the frame rate of the video a little rubbish? Yeah, maybe, but I don't think that's how it's going to be in the headset. So to your point and your concern, Crook, I can completely understand that. But with my knowledge in regards to curating this type of thing, I'm not concerned, I guess, is where I'm going with that. Did you find it yet or no?
I've got one that says back in 725. There's one that says, I'm not deep on the tech side, but we captured for the trailer at 60 FPS. That was back in April. But I have a feeling that was for a different trailer.
Could have been. Or they could have been working on them simultaneously, because you got to remember, like, they are capturing footage for a variety of different videos, different trailers and stuff like that. They try to get as much content as possible in preparation to create multiple trailers. And notice how, like, they showcase the same trailer over and over and over and over again. They were bashing it into our skulls. We saw the same goddamn thing over so many times. We're like, give us something new. Now they give us something new, and to me, it's spectacular. So if you go to 6 seconds, this is the very first still image that I felt was appropriate to talk about on the new map, Crossroads. So prior to my bullet points here, I want to say that this map has a lot of similar elements to District in Black Site.
Yeah, so it wasn't until District similar, and it wasn't until you said Black, like, and he would mention something that where Black Site popped into my head, and that was right. But again,
it's regional.
They're based on the regional concept, right? So it kind of makes sense.
And here's something.
Well, kind of, it just does.
Here's something that. So this was my first bullet point. If you look at the building on the right, there is a prominent image of some sort of character. Now, I'm no political society, social socialism major or whatever. I don't know people around the world. I am a pretty sheltered hermit.
I don't think that's a real person.
I'm like, I don't know if this is a real person, but because Hesk has a background in Call of Duty, they have lore where in certain maps, you will see significant character figureheads within the game that are relevant. I wonder if this is related to PvE. If this is someone that you would possibly take down. Is this a significant enemy?
I see what you're saying. In that same concept of the idea of if there was one of the co-op modes being a drop in, you have to like fight your way through a stronghold to eliminate a target or something like that.
Because we have never, aside from Shoot House, seen a character portrayed, and even the characters portrayed in 0 Hour were all developers. This is the first character that looks like it fits the region, and typically in this format, this is some sort of leader or dictator that, well, I would say dictator because, I mean, they will prominently...
You just want to say dictator.
Yeah, well, they prominently post their picture all over the place, right, as an intimidation tactic. Like, I'm always watching, right? So I thought that was cool because in 0 Hour, they said that there was existing lore, but no one knew it. Well, here's probably a good bit of lore slapped right on the side of a building in front of your face. So I thought that was kind of cool. You can also see to the left, prominently displayed in the background, a huge landmark. Like this looks like a palace of some sort, almost like a White House in the Middle East, with a massive dome and the steeples and stuff. I don't know if that's outside the region that you'd be able to access, but I thought that was a cool little piece that they showcase in there. And like I said, it's very reminiscent of. I even saw a few elements of Compound in here, so Compound District and Black Site, but again, region based, right?
Yeah.
And if you go for it a little bit more, it's still within the 6 seconds, but it's pretty much the next scene. You can see the truck. There's a truck right next to Miko. It's on fire. It's actively on fire. So we have elemental effects, live action taking place, which kind of gives you a little bit of storytelling, right? And you can also see right to above the bed of the truck in the back there. You can see the lights of the club on the outside of that building.
You see in later on. Yeah.
So we know that this is a very localized area because that club section actually shows up. The outer part of the club section shows up again a little bit later. But draw attention to the walls as well. You look to the walls just above Miko. These are very akin to Black Site, right? Yeah. Very akin to Compound and District. So you could tell, like, we're, aside from the script, that we're definitely in the Middle East area. I don't want to say reused asset because these don't look reused. But it's very similar style, so I thought that was really cool. Next spot,
I don't think the assets would be necessary because you got to remember.
Well, that's why I'm saying they're not reused. They're just reminiscent, so they're fitting the theme that we're accustomed to.
I was gonna say, like, even if you the quality of the mesh, again, being a 3D person. The quality of the mesh, I think, even if it's because it is upgraded, means like it's not necessarily I would say it's not a reused asset because you've changed the mesh.
Yeah.
If you've changed the mesh, it's no longer a reused asset. You could argue it's a reused asset that they've done up, but I don't know.
But you also have to remember a lot of the stuff that we find in the maps, they actually made themselves. Like a lot of the walls they made, the vehicles, the characters, these were all hand designed by the team. So if they were to reuse them, then it would make sense that they would just take the same models, put them in a new, or tie them to an upgraded version of the engine.
Yeah.
Then, you can build off of them. But again, I don't think these are reused. If any bits of them are reused, they still put a shitload of work in to make them look as good as they do.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff, like the boxes and stuff like that, those can be reused because it's just going to be shaders at that point.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm going to be a guy for a second. Well, okay. Before I'm a guy, look at below Miko's feet. You see the oil on the ground?
Yeah.
I wonder if that actually catches on fire. That'd be interesting to see. I'm going to be a guy for a second, and I just got to say Miko looks fine. God damn, they gave her short shorts. She's got a tank top on with a utility vest. I mean, she looks fucking deadly, first of all. Ready to kill motherfucker, but they got her skimpy as hell. So kudos to the team where we're in such a progressive place in our society that they're still willing to do that. If you go to 9 seconds... this is just a good little highlight clip of the club in the background, which is really cool. So we could tell this is a very prominent part of the map.
You're going to 9 seconds?
Yeah, I'm at 9 seconds.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, we're just skipping over 7.
If you see something, let's go back to it.
Yeah, let's go to 8 seconds.
Okay.
We're just gonna skip 8 seconds.
I'm at 7, but it's the same. It's in the alleyway.
Again, drum barrel on fire. Yep.
I actually bring that up in a later clip too, but yeah.
Okay. But this is one of those ones where I said like reuse assets possibly. Like if you think about Sniper Alley, like the boxes in there, very reminiscent of District in that regard. Again, that could be very well reused assets. The only thing you're changing because the mesh as a whole for a box doesn't need to change. But what will change will be your shaders. And your shaders and your textures can upgrade. So if anything, that's an upgrade. But yeah, it's funny you were talking about that because this was initially my first thought. Is on some of the stuff you have higher quality, you've gotten potentially upgraded the mesh, or at least redone your normals and that kind of stuff. But like in this situation, it's upgraded. I think it's upgraded shaders and whatnot. Like look at the wall. Like if you look at the wall, like the crumbling away of the wall. I'm curious to know. I would imagine that's just normals. If you were to go up to that wall, it would look flat.
I would suspect so.
That's my guess.
I would suspect.
I don't think that's mesh. I think that's a normals. I think that's a normals map.
That'd be way too much rendering, way too much memory usage.
Yeah.
To actually add the depth. Now you can do that on flat screen because there's
like,
no reprojection, you know.
Yeah, but overall it looks
damn good.
Really good.
So the next section, I skipped over the club scene because I'll just stop here. There's really nothing to note. Like we can see some graffiti on the wall with some neon lights, and I think this is going to be a cool little area. But I don't think that there was anything significant here. There's a C4 on the door that you can see. You can see the yellow dot to indicate this is interactable. We see the activation and use of the activator. Like there's nothing super significant up to 16 seconds. The explosions look really cool. I'll give it that. The explosions look really cool, but nothing significant there. So I skipped all the way to 16 seconds. At 16 seconds, this was a section where I pointed out the barrels and how, like, again, alive they're making the environment. So where we saw the truck being on fire, you know how bums or homeless people or people who are just kind of like hanging out together, they would throw a bunch of paper or wood or something into fire barrels and they just stay warm there. That's kind of like what that reminds me of. So we're going to probably see a lot of that. And I also noticed that there's this print of a gun. I wouldn't even call it graffiti, but it's print of a gun on the wall. This, I don't know what the significance of it, but again, anything could possibly be lore. So I find that to be interesting. And I couldn't make out what was actually written. I tried. I see a W and an E, possibly a P, but I couldn't really make out anything on there. But the landscape, the backdrop, the background of everything, like it just looks so good. The lighting, the environment, you can see the sparks, the fire embers still rising up.
The lighting I think the lighting.
It's killer.
So, again, in 3D, lighting makes everything, right? And I think that's what they nail so well.
They did it really well in 0 Hour too. Yeah,
but I think like in this regard, like because the way PlayStation 5 in general just handles it, I think is really what stepped it up. Just the dynamic lighting is really what makes the difference, I think.
Moving on, it's still within the 16-second mark, so you can see a couple of clips happen within a matter of seconds. This is in the office space, and this is where I wanted your opinion. So to me, this is reminiscent of the communications office space, where there was a partition on the right? Okay. And then that led to the lobby stairs to the right of the screen there. This staircase didn't exist. The only staircase was behind. So when they said that they have remodeled a little bit, this is a remodel.
Yeah, I agree, but I also think it's a different location.
Where do you think it is? You think it's one that already existed, or this is a new spot?
It's one that has existed, but I think they made it a little bigger for this purpose. So if you recall, so behind that wall would be the ping pong table. And the reason I say that is because if you remember about 5 months ago or so, they had a trailer where somebody was coming up the stairs and they came up the stairs into cafeteria, which would make sense that the stairwell was below, just outside of ping pong table. And if you would remember, on the other side of ping pong table was this little office area, and it was just sort of never ever used. It was never like, it wasn't a place that anybody held, other than if you put the jammer inside the conference room, which would be to your right now. Do you remember that area?
Mm-hmm.
That's a potential another spot. But yeah, it could go up where like the stairs behind you potentially. Mm-hmm. But because they put those stairs in, I remember the stairs going up to they go up the stairs to cafeteria. I wonder if that's this area. And if you think about it, that wall in that area was really big between ping pong table and that.
It was, but you also have to remember, like with the capture program that they're using, it gives you a larger field of view.
It could be a depth of field thing for
so,
sure. 100%.
And Joker says, "Remember the other images of Office? It looked destroyed." Yeah, we'll see. We'll even see the CEO office, how vastly different it looks because everything's overturned. We can even see debris on the ground here. You can see some of the monitors are tipped against the wall. Some of the desks are like tipped over as well. Now, the only reason why I say that this is the communication spot is it's hard to tell, but I distinctly remember these windows and obviously the grenade being bounced off of the back and this being the spot where everybody held.
But that
you had
window
this pillar here, you had that
also,
pillar there, and then you had the partition right here.
However, that wall that you're looking at with the glass was also on the ping pong table side, except the lights were dark, and nobody ever went to that wall because if you remember, upstairs had the offices. There was only really the hallway when you went up the stairs, and nobody really paid attention to cafeteria. So this is just sort of a light version, like a day version of Office. Whereas the other place, you could look out and you could actually see like buildings.
So Joker says, is this the back left of the main stairs? So this is what we're kind of discussing, and this is why I put it down as a note to discuss, because I think it's the communications room. Like if you're looking down the main lobby stairs, I think it's...
it was where the classic hold was, where right now you would be like, if you remember, like if in
other words, I think this is below the CEO office is where I'm thinking it is.
No, what? Below CEO office?
No, the other side to the right.
I was gonna say you're
opposite,
on the other side.
Yeah,
it was like So remember, if you got the laptop in the little office, you would go down the stairs and you would hold, and they had the cart, and people would come down the stairs. You'd shoot through this way. You would go into zigzag, and there was the shop or the cart that was there. It was right at the back. It was on the same side as CEO office, but on the opposite corner.
Yeah.
That's the part you're referring to, where the stairs
That's where I think it is.
Basically behind us.
Yeah.
And like I said, the only reason I think is because we've seen somebody coming up the stairs into cafeteria prior, and that
my counter to that though, Titch, is that they said that these maps have gone through redesign, not significant redesign, but over the course of the in-game 5 years, there have been redesigns. So we might see these stair additions in other areas as well. And
like I said, the reason I say that it makes sense for that area is because if you think about Office as a map, that area was basically never used. And this was a way for them to look at the maps and go, okay, what can we do to make this map? And basically, if you think about it, that map on the lower end, there was not a lot. That corner was basically useless. Nobody held that corner. And like I said, unless you put a jammer down in the conference room, in the downstairs conference room, and then it would be kind of used to hold the long hall. But like overall, generally speaking, this corner of Office wasn't really ever used. So
I would say that there were a lot of unused areas.
Potentially. But I think by adding the stairs, it makes what I would argue that it was the most unused of all of the map. And so by adding a stairs where you can access the upstairs from cafeteria, I think opens up new routes, makes that area potentially more useful, and could also be now another location for possible laptop or, you know what I mean, or a spawn point. At least it
At this point,
a little
anything's
different.
possible. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Because if this is a redesign of the area that I'm thinking of, this is a huge redesign given the fact that you have the lobby stairs to the direct right of you, 45-degree angle from us. We have the stairs right here, and then we got the stairs behind. There's 3 entry points now, which is incredibly dangerous. And this spot was already dangerous to hold in the first place. But if it's in the area that Titch is talking about, then it's granting greater utilization of an unused space, which now actually, that just switches up the dynamic as a whole and creates, more value to the map. So we'll have to wait and see. But, if you guys, all right, Crook, check you later, man. If you guys have thoughts about where you think this is, please let us know in the comments. If you're watching this afterwards, otherwise just comment on it now. So I skipped ahead beyond the oil rig. We've seen the oil rig so many times. There's really nothing to talk about here. I'm sure there's a lot of lore-based things. The lighting here is incredible. We get a nice little glimpse of the fire. I skipped ahead to 19 seconds, so just kind of give you an idea of what we're missing here. Here, just real quick, the CEO office, you can see.
Perfect. This is actually the one I was looking at.
Yeah, things are overturned, right? Like planters are in different positions. I think the IK here for whoever the fuck this is. Who is this on the right? What contractor is that? Is that Nala? It's hard to tell. She looks dumb as fuck.
So this is one of the ones where I said to you, like, in some cases I'm like, this looks really good, and then other cases I have questions, or like it's something like, look at the way the thing is in the hand, and so I say to you, like, small things like this where it would drive me insane. The amount of anytime I do any sort of animation stuff, I always play with things because that stuff bothers me. Give me a second. My daughter's going to bed. I'll be right back.
Well, and speaking to Titch's point here, like if you go frame by frame, the animation is going to look jank as shit. But that's where the speed of the animation really plays in and kind of masks a lot of the smudge and the sludge that is, rendered animations. So where he's probably going to talk about like, these things could be improved. These are like minor. You also have to remember when planting the C4, this controller is going to be held in the hand for a period of time. So you're only going to need as much detail to that controller as is necessary for as long as it's going to be in your hand. And the animation is going to be super quick and there's going to be a lot happening. So your eyes are not going to be fixating on any specific spot on the hand. It's going to be looking at it as a whole. So minor problems in the animation are not going to be forefront. We aren't looking at the polished version either. Exactly, and this is why I pointed out to Crook earlier, who expressed concern about the frame rate. These videos were made probably weeks or months. I would even argue months in advance, so this wouldn't even be the final product in the end. And the cleanup version will probably run smoother. So I agree with that. I'm going to wait for Titch to come back. He's saying goodnight to his daughter. So we'll just kind of wait. I think there's another... Yeah, here's another look. So we have Havoc here. This is Diaz. This is actually a point that I do want to talk about at 19. So we'll talk about this when he gets back as well. That could be Nala. It's really hard to tell. I don't really know. It didn't look. Nala had longer hair on one side. I don't know. It's really hard to say. But you can see the TV's been overturned. They've created a barricade with the couches. The chairs are tipped over, so this isn't nearly as clean as 0 Hour was. Images are from the TV view, so in VR they should be crisper. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You always have to take these things with a grain of salt. I even mentioned looking, anytime you upload something to YouTube, no matter how good of a render you have of it, before you put it up, regardless the render, like it's still going to be compressed. So you should always take these things with a minor grain of salt, knowing the fact that this was pre-recorded, probably days in advance, and also, there's going to be a compression to it regardless. So, Titch, what I was saying with regards to the controller here and the animations and stuff, I was making a point that, like, in situations like this, where this is to activate the C4, right? So. You're going to be holding it in your hand for a period of time, which means you're only going to need a specific amount of detail on the controller, and the hand's only going to have to hold it in a specific position, in a static position for a while. And then the activation is so fast that the minor errors in the animation are not necessarily going to be seen because so much is happening that your brain is taking it all in at once.
Yeah.
But as from someone from your technical perspective, yeah, I can see where you're like, oh, there's a flaw there. Oh, that's fucked up. That can be improved. That can be smoothed out.
And like I said, there's tons of stuff in there in things that I do where after the fact, like I'll send you the video of what I've done, and you're like, "That's great." And I'm like,
"No, it's
not." But and I'm like, "Did you see like the 16 problems in it?" And you're like, "What 16 problems?" I'm like, "Go to this point and look at this area," and you're like, "It's there for like all the 2 frames." I'm like, "I know, but it's there." So like, yeah.
Joe Brogan, you said, I'm excited. I missed the first game and have been anticipating this. Well, good. You're in the right place because Titch and I not only played it for years. I had it on launch. Titch had it a few months after launch. We also covered it competitively. So we covered it for many years in the competitive sense. We know this game pretty much inside and out. So you're in the right place. If you have any questions or thoughts or concerns, you can express them here and we'll be more than happy to share our opinions with you.
Interesting thought on this one too.
The scene that we're on?
Yeah.
19?
Yeah. So CEO office on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I shared a little bit of my thoughts on the change of the design. What are you thinking about?
Well, it's interesting they've got a plant where the desk was.
Yeah. But look at where the desk is.
Yeah.
It's nowhere. You have the television that was up on the thing that's gone. You have the couch that's propped up. The chair and tables to the chair and the tables to the right are knocked over, arguably so. You can't really move the planter wall. The planter wall is kind of attached.
The planter wall was there. Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting one. But like C4 on the inside of the door for the push, but yeah, it's
that's correct, Joker. Yep. 8 maps instead of 9. But we're getting a brand new one at launch, which is Crossroads.
Yeah. Didn't they say there's 2 new maps?
There'll be 2 new maps down the pipeline, but we're getting Crossroads.
Did they say there was 1 at launch or 2 new ones at launch?
I think it's 1 at launch and 2 later on. So the next bullet point, while Titch looks for that, I wanted to.
I don't know if they specifically pointed that out or not.
I wanted to stop at this frame in particular because I noticed this in Pumpkins brought it up as well. But I also noticed it in.
Quick,
yep.
I want to say, I feel bad for everybody on Twitch because Twitch and just OBS compression and everything on its way. What you see here is not what you see on the trailer because this is the compressed, reformatted 6 times over.
You have to remember that I am watching a compressed version, which is being further compressed through the stream. So, so the staircase at the previous screen will be straight ahead from this location.
And I've got like your stream up on the other, on like my 1440p monitor, and I'm looking at that, so I'm like, man,
yeah, it's ultra compressed.
Massive difference.
So that's the thing, Joker. We don't know. We don't know if the staircase from before is directly across from the CEO office. I'm thinking it's to the immediate right, and Titch is thinking it's closer to the center.
Not the center. It's straight ahead. Through that door.
That's what you're thinking.
All the way to the back. Yeah. Straight ahead all the way to the back.
But we'll have to wait and see. But why did I stop on
other side of the ping pong table?
Why did I stop on this frame? It's because there's this interesting number on the side of the gun. And at some point you can get a much clearer image of it. I'll see if I can get it. It looks like a D2 or a 02 or a DZ. I've come to realize that this is actually a number. It's 02, and there's a way I determined it was a number rather than letters. But the number 02 is on the side of this gun, which is kind of interesting. I don't understand the purpose of it, but it's on some other guns, and I've pointed that out.
Interesting.
So one of my thoughts
Imagine if
was,
that was
is
a
this
loadout
part
number?
right? So one of my sub questions or sub points to this was, is this part of the gun model or is it cosmetic? Like, what is it in relation to this? But let's hold that thought, because there are a couple other points in here. We're only at 19 seconds of a 1 minute trailer, so a lot of
frame on to 20 seconms.
Yeah,
1 second forward.
Literally, I am going on to 20 seconds.
Yeah. I know you are. I'm well aware.
So 20 seconds, we actually have a better look at it, but I stopped it here for different reasons. So you can see a much better picture of the number on the side of the gun. By the way, the gun looks brilliant, dude. Wow, that looks good. The little scratches, looks like there's wear and tear. You can see the discoloration of some of the metals. It just looks beautiful, doesn't it? Why did I stop it here? There's a few reasons, though. We can see the concussion mine on the back of a vehicle here. So that's returning, which is really nice to see. But it doesn't seem concussive. It seems more explosive than anything. And this is a really good...
what regard?
So if I move forward just a little bit...
Oh, because okay,
you see that blast?
I get what you're saying.
It looks concussive, but it also looks explosive. You know what I'm saying? Let's see, bunker. You like the iron sights? Yeah. So location, map discussion. This is bunker, but this is a new section of bunker.
They did say that there was new tunnels in bunker.
And what makes this even more interesting, which actually kind of expands on the lore of bunker, we have vehicles in here. So what's the point of the bunker? What's the story behind it? Is it a place of operation of intel gathering, which we have the servers, right? And
it's a Wendy's drive-through.
It's a Wendy's, if only, man. if fucking only. So the original bunker in zero hour seemed very much like an intel type of setting, but now we have vehicles here with a lot of containers, a lot of stacks of what you could argue maybe pipe bombs or something. I don't know what that shit is. And it's very tall, very long and very tall. So this is clearly a loading bay, I would say, of some sort. So I'm wondering if like directly behind the player right now is actually the exit to the bunker. I'm curious because the direction of the vehicle, it's going into the bunker. So is the exit behind them? And is this like a loading bay type of section? I don't know. I just thought it was really cool.
So like,
because it's clearly bunker, but it's so different.
So like if you think of original bunker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, would this... where would this be in relation to the original? Because the only thing that would make sense would be, like, where he's starting now. Do you remember where, like, the laptop would spawn in the middle, but at the end?
Yeah.
That would be the only thing that would make sense.
If it were building off of that part.
But it feels like they've narrowed it.
So, here's my thought. I don't think this is tied to any part of the existing map. I think, you know, the stairway to those doors where you would spawn on either side? I think they're opening up one of those sections and creating a whole new slice. That's what I think. Because this
how do you tie it back into the other map? Like, because it's just adding onto that one section doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. Like, because if you were just to add to that section and be like,
how would it not make sense? Think about.
I can answer that in a very, very simple question.
But
if you have that answer, that map as a general whole rule of thumb is initially, in my mind, an absolute garbage train wreck. Because if all you've done is opened up that stairwell to get into this area, if for spawning reasons, I don't know, but let's say somebody spawned into that other area, all you have now is one single location to defend. You have one single hallway that you have to hot. It has to have another way into the main map.
Well, you have to remember how many doors went unused. even from the location of the stairs that I'm talking about that go up to a closed door. If you go, I'm thinking if it red side, I think it was behind boxes. There was another door there. So like, there are multiple doors that go unused.
They're on the opposite side. But this is a problem. They're on completely opposite sides of the map. So how, unless it's like a massive U shape,
it could loop around because there's so many unused doors. Like you have to think, you have to remember that the options are kind of endless with what was unused in 0 hour, that you could create so much more depth to the map. Yes, this could all loop around and tie together. In fact, that area that you're talking about could very well be open, and there could be a doorway that we can't see in 0 hour that now exists in Ultra that loops around to the other side. You see what I'm saying? So it's there's like multiple pathways to take. The only reason why I say that this is completely separate from the 0 hour bunker is because of the theme. This is so significantly different that if this were that central location, that center aisle that you're referring to, you even said it's longer, it's more narrow, and it's taller. That means they would have to reshape the entire bunker around that. So I think that would be a logical.
So FCE is very particular with the information that they give based on the information that is in a video. And to quote the article, the interior layout of the office map is renovated and ransacked, which we've already discussed. And you'll find some new tunnels and pathways in the iconic bunker location, which right off the bat tells me it has to be connected to the bunker.
But you just said new tunnel. The section that you're talking about is the tunnel part. So they said new tunnels, which would clearly indicate that this is a completely separate tunnel. It's not the same tunnel.
I'm just curious how it is that it ties into the map. And
well, like I guess we're gonna have to wait and see.
That was what we were discussing. But like I said, I don't believe that it wouldn't make sense as a map to come off of, say, the closed red doors. Not what we're looking at. Not like as if like up here on like the upper ledge would like lead to that location. I don't shy of making it like longer, because let's be honest, bunker was a very rush heavy map in a lot of cases. Shy of making it so less just run into the middle and start shooting. I don't see how this location or adding that to the red side would make any sense. Like it doesn't.
The idea of expanding on the maps gives the original maps.
It has to tie into both sides.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is like this could be one side, it could be mirrored on the other side, or we could have a completely separate theme. We have to remember that bunker is a operations base. There's so much stuff that would take place there that it's much larger than what we're expecting. And unlike some of the other maps, bunker was arguably small. Like it was a small map.
So let me do this.
What are your thoughts in chat?
I don't know if you can somehow put this on screen or what the situation is.
Let me see.
If I were to do this, right? Let me know if you're doing anything with it.
Where'd you put it in our chat?
Yeah. You should be able to pop out the window.
Give me a second.
I don't know if you can somehow add this in behind this.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my initial thought becomes something like, if this is red side, okay, and then you have blue side, servers and whatnot, underground from red side, you have that one underground spot here.
Yeah.
Right. So what makes sense to me is above here, this new area potentially is here. This long way here with tunnels that would tie in this way. That to me makes sense because now it affects the map overall. Not like up here doesn't make sense. But this makes sense. Because now you can have potential spawn locations.
But you have to think
or
about
potential.
We don't know the extent to. First of all, that kind of looks like a penis. Second of all, we don't know the extent to which they actually expanded on the maps.
No, but we can see this tunnel is obviously something new. And
the way with you've oriented this new tunnel, it doesn't align with your original argument that it's that central tunnel.
It does
between red and blue.
Up to this tunnel.
It tees up, but you were saying
it's a continuation of this tunnel.
Not with the way the car was facing, because the tunnel was long. It wasn't wide.
Okay, sorry. Let me make this a little narrower for you, so you can understand it better.
No. Let me show.
Is that better for you?
No. Hold on. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's go back to this picture. Okay. If you look at via the depth, the walls are narrow. It is not wide.
I know it's not.
Which is what led you to believe this was the original center between red and blue. I
said, if you remember, my initial statement was, it looks like the middle from red and blue. However, it looks like they've narrowed it. Which is why, if you go back to my original drawing, if we ignore the actual not to scale boxes that I've made, the purple/pink that I've added, not to scale, is the narrower hallway or driveway that we're looking at. So the camera, as of right now, the way what I'm saying is not as a possibility, is your camera right now is here. That's your player POV looking this way. We see a wall here. We see an upper path here. We don't see anywhere. So the tunnel will be behind them. We could have a possible pathway here that we can't see because we have a box here blocking our path looking down. And there could be another entranceway into red here that we can't see because, again, our pathway down this hall is blocked by stuff. But there's a vehicle right here that we can see. There's a box here, an ammunition stack here that we can see. This would make sense as a map. It's the only place that you could effectively put where, like, adding on to these tunnels to be able to add.
If that's as much as you are, see, this is where I think you're short-sighted on the scope that they are going with here. You have to remember that they've added long-range weaponry, right? So it has to be somewhat effective in some of these other maps. Okay, to say that they are just adding one new section would.
But they've added tunnels because the tunnels obviously have to. Okay, access.
But the tunnels, if the tunnels are like a singular connector, then they didn't really do anything to change the map at all.
Well, they did. They added a whole section.
How relevant will that be? It's not going to play much different.
How relevant would it be? Well, that depends. If we go back to this and we say, hey, now what we're going to do is we're going to create a laptop location here, or say on this they've like to put things on top of vehicles. So let's say they spawn the laptop here on top of this vehicle. Well, now you have this whole hallway you got to cover, both directions, right? You got to cover the tunnel. You got to potentially cover the middle here. You got to potentially cover this tunnel here. So there's a lot of different places you can come from. So you're either going to cover this whole end and box in.
I don't think that's dynamic enough.
I think it adds a huge dynamic. It allows. Think about it. Like, even if you spawn here, even if laptop spawns here on blue, right? Rather, if you're covering, like you used to cover, like anybody crossing middle, now you no longer have to worry about people crossing middle, because now you have to worry about people coming through tunnel, coming down this way and flying around the thing. I think that opens up a lot of different avenues.
Perhaps, but I don't think to the scale that they're looking to do. That I think that the scope is going to be much larger. I think you're going to have an addition of 2 tunnels on the side. They're going to open up the back end of the original tunnel, and it's going to loop
where
around.
is this tunnel?
So the stairs from red and blue that go up to a closed door. I think they're going to run parallel and extend further back to the left based on your
red
drawing.
And blue.
Yeah, there's stairs on both sides, isn't there?
Oh, okay. You're talking about
from the starting point.
Yeah.
The back halls.
Yeah. Yes. So you're talking about like how they have this little thing, which
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So my thought is that they're going to open up these doors. We're going to have different thematic sections. In this case, we're going to have a loading bay.
So now you're saying it's this way?
Yeah. Well, yes, but it doesn't necessarily have to be perfectly parallel. It could be like offset a little bit to
offset or whatever.
You know what I'm saying. And then they're going to have one on the blue side as well. And they're going to be thematic, so they're going to have their own visual indicators like this is separate from this section. Then in the center, between red and blue, was
there originally.
Yes, to the left of it, there where the laptop would typically spawn. You know what I'm talking about? Where? Yeah, like over here. Yeah, there is a whole section that you could see, but like not. There wasn't really anything there. They opened that. They opened that up.
Yeah, because technically it was like that.
Right, but there was shit there or whatever. I feel like what they're going to do is they're going to open that up, so now you can traverse that back area that loops around and connects with all these different additions that they've added. So these different thematic corridors that they've added. That's what I think. Because
they're going to have them in some way like this.
Kind of, yes. But they're going to extend, I think they're going to open it up. Because you got to remember that the setting of the bunker is underground. It's not going to...
If they do this, I'm going to hate the map.
It's not going to...
change it.
It does change it.
It changes it, but like not...
Because you also have to remember that there were more than one door on the red side and blue side that would lead to nowhere. They just were aesthetically, put there.
Yeah.
So my thought is like, if they are going for larger scale, they're not going to just add one little corridor at the end. No, they're going to add multiple corridors with multiple pathways.
Again, they might ask that, but it would make more sense to add something here and be able to tie into red and blue this way. So you have not just a this way battle like we have had since the dawn of Bunker, but now you have a this way battle, right? You have a this way battle, and you have a this way battle. Well, maybe not this, but you get the idea. This would really shift over. But I think it wouldn't. I think the dynamic of the map would change much greater by having it on the side here and then tying into both sides. Rather than making the map more grow in length when we already have a red to blue. We've always had a red to blue, like pathway.
Mm-hmm. I'm just thinking thematic. I'm not thinking functionality. I'm thinking thematic because that's what they're going for.
Yeah, but you can't think of thematic. You can't think thematically on when you're dealing with a map. You have to think about how does it affect the gameplay, and does the work of adding these to the map actually add to the map? And if it doesn't add to the map, it doesn't make sense.
But I don't think adding a perpendicular corridor is going to add much either.
Did they close off some existing parts of the map too? I'm not sure if they said they were going to close off any existing parts.
Yeah, I don't think
they were changing up parts, which again, like I said, goes back to the dead zones of the maps, where I can 100% see them changing up dead zones of maps. And again, going back to this concept of dead zones of the map, what is the most dead zone map of Bunker? The most dead zone map of Bunker. 100%. Because on red side, you have server room, which we're very well familiar, has a lot of, you have box room. It's going to have a whole lot of stuff, action. You would hold the back here often with back room. They had a lot of action. I'm on the other side, aren't I? Yeah, this is actually backwards. I just realized it's backwards. This is actually blue. I just realized this is backwards. Let me fix this. This is what happens when you're just doing stuff off the cuff. There we go. This makes way more sense in my head now. There we go. So now, when we draw things out, it makes way more sense because this is the office. This was the server room.
Server room was red.
Box room was on the opposite side of the blue. Yeah, it was the opposite side of blue, right? So you have the box room that had a lot of action. So this area had a lot of action. Even within these rooms had a lot of action on blue, right? Box room, and then with them having this open area was a big battle sequence. Underneath this, underneath the lower portion, when the laptop had a spawn location here, had a lot of action. This spawn location was a dead end. It only would make sense as far as dead space on the map. This would be the area that you would want to redo.
Which is why that's where everything would circle back to. But I don't think adding a perpendicular corridor would be the answer, because it doesn't add much value other than like, yay, there's another corridor.
Again, it does if you put spawn locations and laptop locations in there, because it absolutely changes. I suck at drawing. I know. Let me just not do this again.
Here's the thing, like, just so everybody knows, like, this is speculation. This is just
100% speculation.
This is just brain work. We like to try to think creatively and outside the box of what we think would work best. So there's no definitive answer as to what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But based on the image that I just shared with you guys, timestamp that I shared, to me, it makes sense that it's completely separate because it's taller, it's more narrow, and it looks more like a loading bay where people would actually drop things off, whether it's drop off, people or drop off equipment, or whatever. And that would not fit the theme of the current bunker. You would have to create a whole new section. And Titch is saying that it would make sense to run perpendicular with red and blue, and I think it would run better parallel. And make
the
it.
problem with parallel is you're adding to it. You're
creating more lanes. You're creating way more lanes.
You have to create way more lanes off of each. And like I said, because you have, and it doesn't make sense. And like I said, my argument is, whoops.
I hear your argument. I just don't think that's the case.
Just this has always been the path of battle.
Yeah.
And it would 100% make sense to make this a path of battle, because you change it up way more than continuing that up down movement, than now adding a side to side aspect to it. And I think that's why
I think you could still way more effect. I think you could still create that effect that you're talking about with parallel corridors than what you're thinking. I think you could still create that effect because you're still going to have that loop around. You could still have that perpendicular tunnel that you're talking about with parallel tunnels that are thematically different than what exists.
I don't.
That's what I think. I think you're trying to confine the bunker into and you're trying to combine too many things into one confined space that it's going to feel way too cramped and way too small. That's what I think.
I think on a development basis, doing two things is much harder than doing one. Even in a copy, rotate 180 degree paste format, you still have to change things up. I think this way makes way more sense. It changes the dynamic of the game way more than this does. All you're doing is extending the up-down battle.
Yeah. Well, we're just going to have to wait and see. We'll know in a couple of days, right?
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I wanted to show you. Is I think that really is interesting.
Yeah, this whole piece here is really cool. So I wanted to highlight this because, one, the map talking point, which obviously we could spend hours talking about, the return of the concussion mine, and this little 02 on the side of the gun, which is an interesting choice. All right, we are only 20 seconds in, so let's move on. The next one is 21 seconds. We have a brand new item. Now, we were told that FCE wanted to put gas bombs or something gas related into 0 hour, and it never happened. I think they're finally realizing that here. If you look at the side of it, there is a very long word that I can only suspect is chemistry based. It says CS on it, or maybe C5 on the side of it. It's really hard to tell, but the after effect after this blows up leaves a green mist for the person running through the door, which you could speculate is related to gas, right? My question is, because he's putting this next to the door and theoretically is only triggered by motion, perhaps, is this something that you're only going to be planting next to a door, or you can only plant it next to a door? Or is this going to be something like a proximity mine or a concussion mine where you can plant anywhere and it is motion detected? What are your thoughts? And the visual detail, by the way, holy shit. Look at how many pieces are on this. Crazy.
So it says chlorobenz.
Can you read that? I'm having a really hard time.
Yeah. Hold on.
CHLOROBE something Z E. I can't read the rest of it.
Yeah, it's CHLORABENZ something LM A. Anyway,
start typing that into Google.
I did. I'm way ahead of you. So, oops. Where's Sorry, hold on. More. So chlorobenzene is a colorless flammable liquid. I'm trying to find out what it's used for. The fact that it's
Well, there's got to be, so with these bombs, these are pipe bombs, right? So with these, you got to have a substance that is used, whether it's meant to eliminate physically or eliminate chemically. In this case, it'll be chemically. So you got to have the igniter, the explosive bits, the part that actually does the exploding. You got to have the compound that you want that is used to injure the person, right? And then you got to also have some sort of triggering mechanism, right? So you're going to have, as you can see, there's multiple pieces to this. I'm assuming that in this container here, because it's completely full, this is an indicator that this is where the chemical compound is. All these go into the triggering mechanism, which is managed through some sort of pressure gauge. And this is probably the triggering mechanism. The rest of it, I don't really know. I don't build bombs. I only speculate. But I really like the detail that they put in here. A lot of nuance that they put in that they don't have to, but they choose to. So we finally have a brand new utility item, which we've never seen, which is pretty much a pipe bomb. Is it applied only to motion? I'm suspecting so, because in one of the next scenes, so if I move forward a little bit more.
Sorry. I was trying to zoom in on that thing.
Hey, you're fine.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. I see where you're at now. Yeah, okay.
So we can see that's planted here. I don't think we see a mechanism in the hand to explode it. So I think it's like a proximity mine or a concussion where it's motion detected. But aside from the really cool use of this, like look at that, it just explodes, boom, you see the shock wave, and then you see the smoke immediately come out. Now, from our perspective, from the POV of the character, it all looks a little bit gray, mustard color even, right? It switches to the person going through the door, it turns green, which is why people are suspecting it's going to be gas. Now, what is so important about this scene? Not just the gas, but also the map. Is it me, or does this look like the kitchen? It's not, but look like the kitchen in Embassy. You got the vending machines, which were originally they were parallel with the buffet, but now that they're against that wall. Now, the only reason why I'm saying like this is not it is because right here would have been a window. We would have seen a window. There is no window. There's a cork board.
Yeah.
And it's not close enough to this wall.
Although,
but aside from, there was one map, was a post 15, also had a buffet that was similar to this, but it was in the hall. But this reminds me of Embassy. It's probably not Embassy, but it reminds me of Embassy. What do you think?
Well, at first thought, something else until you pointed out the. Yeah, I'm not sure now. It's so weird. Here's what's weird about it. Can we go back to 20 seconds? Okay. Sorry, 19 seconds. There you go. So we're on bunker, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you flow through, we go through this whole sequence, and as soon as he comes through this gas door, we immediately enter. The very next scene is immediately entering what appears to be bunker's server room.
Are you talking about after the gas?
After the gas.
Yeah, so you move past the gas, right? It kind of seems like Embassy.
It kind of seems like Embassy.
But then we go into the server room.
Immediately back to server room, but again, could be any of the server rooms.
But this is very reminiscent of bunker server room.
Correct.
Yeah,
because those light and everything. So now I question if you go back to
by the way,
like the
how
walls,
cool is the effect when you actually shoot the servers? You get sparks coming out of it. How fucking dope is that?
Yeah.
That's
so now if you go back to 21 seconds.
Okay.
Now the coffee maker and everything with the water cooler.
Yeah.
If you think, was that not in the middle room of blue side?
Yes, it was.
So
I think this is still on bunker then?
I wonder, is this still on bunker?
And that they've added like a more lounge type of area with a cafe.
Potentially a new room.
A new break room.
Yeah.
Because it definitely did not have the buffet line.
Because it didn't have the buffet line,
Post
but it
15
definitely
had a buffet line, and so did Embassy.
Did. Yeah. I'm just curious if this is a showing of bunker, because if you think it still fits the bunker theme.
It does. It absolutely does. I agree with you on that. It surely fits
and that's
the
why
bunker theme.
that's what I mean. Like as soon as that's why I was like the wall, the lighting. If you look at the lights on the wall, if you go back, it looks like bunker too. But not just that. If you go back to the door, just the lighting. If you go back to 21 seconds, look at the light above the door and look at the light in the corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. That's reminiscent of underground lighting fixtures. Yeah.
So this to me 100%. Says a room.
Yeah,
I think.
I think you're right. I think you're 100% right. Yeah, very well could be bunker. Another point that I want to mention here. You see this new POI.
Also, same lighting that you see in this server room, I might add.
Yep. You see this POI? Light. There's another POI, which looks like it's to a light switch, perhaps, right here on the door.
That's how.
Or next to the door. What is this? Is this like hacking? Are you hacking to like shut down all the lights?
That's what I mean. Like it has a like a Wi-Fi signal, right?
The door style looks more bunker than Embassy, you think? Yeah. All right, Jesse. See you later, man. Yeah, I agree, Chewy. Like, I just thought like some of those assets that were in there were very reminiscent of Embassy.
They are very reminiscent, but like
and even the
overall,
But I even question myself, because I was like, if you look at the floor and you look at the wall, it looks more concrete than like what you might find in Embassy in the kitchen.
Yeah. And as I said, like immediately the lights and even the wiring on the wall, it screams underground bunker. And like I said, if you look at the lighting in that room versus the lighting, it's the exact same light over this door.
Yep.
And it's the exact same light in the corner, other than the light being out.
So that's what we're gonna chalk that buffet line then up to being in bunker. Then
it's a room inside bunker. I'm willing to put money on that one.
I also want to point out here, not only do we have a new POI, which is very interesting to be attached to a door, which means that there's some sort of hackability. Is this into the cameras, or is this related to something else like shutting off all the lights? Because I believe they did mention early on that you are able to either shoot lights or you're able to shut down the lights. I'm pretty certain. But I also want to point out, look at the misty effect that they've added to the underground here. Which you would typically find
metrics.
Which you would typically find in a bunker setting, right? Dirty, not a lot of air ventilation. Poor air quality. Little details, right? Remember on PSVR 1 when they created I'm blanking the dust storm place that everybody hated with tents and
fob,
thank you. How difficult they said it was to create the environment. Well, here now with all the power that they have so much more freedom to do that. So it's really cool to see this little detail. Also notice that there's another POI right here. So our POIs are no longer just firewall, laptop, crypto, and folder. We now have what is promising to be a light switch, a door, or this could very well just be the door POI. This could be some sort of hackable electrical circuit thing. God only knows what this is. I have no idea. But now we have way more things to focus on, which is really cool. All right. Next one. So I don't have this on my notes, but I thought this reminded me a lot of Compound. Reminded me a lot of Compound.
Why? Or
there's another scene. There's another scene that has something like this. Let me just see. At 48 seconds, we kind of return to something like this. So when we get there, I'll kind of explain why. But because they've opened up spaces and buildings, like you can obviously see through this window, it looks like they've added stuff in there. So it's very likely we could possibly go in there. So,
we already know you can enter rooms or but again.
So the next few things that I want to go over is very simple. It's not really debatable. It's just things that I think are important to note. Guns that are returning, the JA300, which is one of my favorite guns. This is the automatically silenced gun, which looks beautiful.
What number? What second are you on?
27, 28.
You need to go forward just a hair.
This one? With Miko?
Okay, hold
on. So with Miko, she's got the DH-44.
That's right after Miko.
So this was one of the original pistols. Not very favored, but we see the DH-44 returning. This is the hallway that you were talking about.
This is the one I wanted to talk about, yes. So
we know where this is.
This is behind, like the laptop would spawn over this room. Inside that blue is like outside of blue would be zigzag.
Yep.
Okay. So the reason I brought this up is because we were talking about the stairwell. Because in your theory, the stairwell would be literally right behind the contractor right now because of the window you had said, but the window is being all around the building, so you can't use that for reference. And this is why I don't necessarily believe that staircase is there, because there's a couch lengthwise, not sticking out like this one that we see in front of us, but there's a couch directly to our right. Are you pointing it?
There's something there at the back end that kind of I can't tell if that's an opening or if that's just another asset pushed against the wall. It's too distant to really be able to tell.
If you think that is actually not in a map at all currently, because that would be dead space underneath double stairs. Or like big stairs, main stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's nothing under main stairs. On the other side of that wall is the stairwell already. It wouldn't make sense to put the stairwell there because there's already a stairwell on the other side of the stairwell. Does that make sense? So you have a stairwell in 3 corners, but not in the other corner. And that's why, one of the main reasons I think why that stairwell is in that opposite corner. It's a dead corner. Every other corner has a stairwell to begin with. It's the only one that would make sense to put a stairwell.
I'm gonna have to run through office again, and kind of see. I know what you're saying
right now.
I know what you're saying, but I need to visually see it.
Yeah.
Because as much as
on the other side of that wall is a stairwell. On the other side of the stairwell is CEO office. Right behind the character right now is a wall, but on the other side of that wall is the stairwell going down to the sales office. The wall, if you go to the corner directly to your right, all the way to the right on the far side, you have a stairwell that leads down to ping pong table.
Yes.
So you have 3 corners with stairwells. So it will only make logical sense if you're going to put another stairwell in from the main floor to the second floor. It would be in the absolute kitty corner that we're at now, which is cafeteria, which we've already seen in a previous video, somebody going up the stairs to the cafeteria. And that's why it makes sense.
We're gonna have to do some investigation. We're gonna have to hop into a private match in Firewall, and we're gonna have to go around and look.
Yeah, absolutely. We can do that after if you want.
Cool. I'm totally down for that.
Because I can show you exactly where it is, and it's the only place that makes sense for another stairwell. Because all 3 corners, like we have right now, all have stairwells.
Yeah, I mean, what you say makes sense. I got to go in there and I got to visually see it. But yeah, what you're saying makes sense.
It's just. Yeah, it's just as soon as I saw this, I'm like, that jogged my memory. I'm like, this is why it doesn't make sense for that stairwell to be there.
So we also have Diaz, so he's coming back. All right. Now
yeah,
here,
which, by the way, is another. You can see main stairs. By the way.
That's right. Diaz. That's right. Main stairs. I didn't even notice the background. Honestly, good catch.
Yep.
With Jag, she's running with the Richardson, which is a shotgun, pump shotgun. And it's the only shotgun that has a butt stock, I believe. I don't think the other ones do. So she's looking badass there. See, she doesn't have the bun or anything. So that other character, I don't know who that was. And then here's Nala. She's got the hat. So that's why I'm saying the other character in the office, I can't tell. But there's going to be customization. That's the thing. There's going to be customization to these characters. So that's what's throwing me off. Maybe it is Nala with just out a hat. I don't know. It's hard to say. But we have the Taylor CQB in this shot. So we know that bad boy is returning.
I need to find... Hold on. Let me find... that trailer. I need to find that trailer.
So the Taylor CQB is looking beautiful. It's definitely looking a lot more beat up. That's for sure. We can see an optic sight, which obviously is going to be standard, but we actually didn't really see much of that in the video footage. Understandable though, because of the orientation, like of the video, of video capture. You have to, the PSVR 2, much like many other VR headsets, will capture out of one eye, and it's usually the left eye. So even if you had the sights, even if you were ADSing, it wouldn't necessarily pick it up. With the sniper, I think it's a little bit different. Moving forward, we have Node. And Node, this is still an office, by the way, because you can see social makers in the background.
And after the next one, there's another one, but I want to discuss that one too.
So a little lore piece for Node is that he's actually the creator of the jammer. He's the creator of it. So, but what I find interesting about this is we remember that the jammer in 0 Hour was like super thin, right? And that was 5 years prior to this. Now look at this jammer, man. This thing is massive, absolutely massive. And moving forward in this a little bit, we kind of see him getting ready to plant it. There's a lot of buttons and knobs here. I believe all this is automated. But if you actually play this out a little bit, I think, let me slow it down real quick. So if you play it, did you see that? It's very, very brief, but you'll see him flip the button, right? There's a very small animation that he does. He flips the button, it pops up the antenna. My question is there a pre-render animation that needs to be activated before you actually place it?
Yeah, because I think it's the equivalent of holding the X button.
That's what I'm thinking
go over there.
too.
Yeah, you go over there, you go hit the button thing, and then the animation would take place.
Another thing to note, since we're talking about numbers and stuff, number 2187 or 2157 is at the bottom of here. We move on to the next one where we have Fang. And look at this. Oh, it's not actually 04, it's 014. If you look close enough. I think it's 014, or it could be 0. I wrote 04. But you look at Fang's sniper here, which, by the way, is not the Reaper. It's not the Z1 Reaper, as everybody is suspecting it to be. This is actually, I don't know what the in-game name of it will be, but this is a tactical sniper. It's called the FN Special Police Rifle. So this is a new rifle that they're adding, presumably much better than the Z1 Reaper, because that thing was garbo to most people. But this is going to be a sniper rifle. In the game, you can see the scope. I believe the scope is probably going to be 4 times, but it also has a number, much like the Taylor that we saw earlier, which was 02. This one is presumably 04 or 014. Kind of hard to tell from this angle. But Fang is also making a return. He's minus some hair, and he's got a couple of scars on his head too. I wonder if there's a bit of a story there. I just thought that was kind of interesting. So there's a few weapons. And one thing that I wanted to point out here, I think it's still in slow-mo. You know that ADS system that they were talking about and how that might work? Mm-hmm. I think we see a little bit of that here. Okay. You see how it pulls in like that?
Sorry, I just sent you a video.
Okay.
And there's a couple of timestamps if we want to have the conversation about Office. There's a couple of timestamps on this one that we really need to look at because it completely changes what we had in mind.
Okay.
It's still very similar, but definitely changes our outlook on it.
All right, let's get through this video and then we can talk about that one. Yeah. What do you think? What do you think about this? Do you think this is the ADS system that they're talking about, where you bring it up to a certain height and it just pulls in like that? So now instead of placing it to your eye, it just kind of pulls in.
I would imagine so. I almost question, is it automatically when you pull up it? I would curious to know if it would be like single eye, like rendered in a single eye, so that you would have the peripheral view to be able to see outside of it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, I made note
that would
here.
Be interesting.
I made note here that note the ADS system, it pulls in the scope. It pulls in the scope lens to the eye to kind of fill in the space. But we have full lens and non-scoped areas being rendered. So most games, they'll black out the rest and just leave the scope.
Yeah.
We actually have full render of inside the scope and outside, similar to what we have in Alvo, right? So this still allows, based on where you're looking, since there's going to be eye tracking, you're going to have visual clarity wherever you're looking. So I thought that was interesting. Now, could this just be the share screen showing all that? Perhaps. Maybe that's true. Yeah. It might look different in the headset, but if I'm taking this for what I believe to be what you see in the headset, we have full render. And another thing to note, This person's behind glass, and whoever is holding the sniper rifle shoots at him. Does that mean breakable glass?
We've already had breakable glass.
But I'm saying, wait, when? In what map?
Hangar. Catwalk.
Yes. Okay. Was that? But that was the only map, wasn't it?
No. Compound. Shootable glass.
Okay, never mind. It's been a long time since I've played the game. I completely forgot about the breakable glass.
Not new. Not new.
What
Is
if
that
they
something
have
you didn't think about?
ACOG instead of just red dot? I'm sure that they have a lot.
Yeah.
So scrap the whole breakable glass thing because Wolf clearly has short-term memory loss. He's inside of a building. You can see that there's the lamp behind him, possibly a couch there. So there's going to be an interior to this opposite building, which is really cool. Next spot, which is another weapon. We have the SOS, which no one liked, but this is making its return. And this is a good showing of the shooting range that is going to be in the new safe house.
Can we go back to 32 seconds, please? Because this is important for the story that we're talking about.
Okay.
You need 31 seconds, I guess. No. Yeah, that 32 seconds. Yeah. Oh, it's in between those frames. There you go. Keep going. There you go. Okay. This one here. So this is cafeteria, right? You can tell from the wall of trees, or like the
that goes
wall.
out towards the center of the map. Yeah.
On the other side of that wall was the office, right?
Yep.
Okay. So when we were discussing, my theory was the stairs was
To the left.
in the sort of to the left where you can't see.
Mhm.
I would like to change my answer.
Not so confident now, are you?
And
You're thinking it's back up over here,
over where?
behind the wall.
Yes. And when you see the new video, there's a change in it that is very, very important. That could potentially change, is a reason for my thought on the video that I sent you. But when we get to that video, I don't know if you want to quickly do that one now or not. If we want to,
we'll go back
so we
to
can
it.
put this to rest. Okay.
No. We'll go back to it because it's not. That's probably it's one of the more. I like map discussions because there's more intriguing. We actually don't have a lot left to go over because a lot of it's gun related. So we have the SOS returning. We also have the crossbow returning. Which, by the way, there's an etching on the other side of the crossbow, which I'm going to get to a little bit later. But the fan favorite crossbow is going to be back, so we can still have our crossbow matches. We could see the number here again. It looks like either A4 or 014 or 04. It's really hard to tell. There's definitely a 4 there. This is that new FN police rifle. This is not the Z1 Reaper, as a lot of people are thinking it is. It's just similar color. And it was like the only sniper-like. So this is actually the G36, aka the Kruger. So that's making a return. And we can see that it has a hollow sight on it, which is sweet. But notice this. Look at the animation.
Oh.
Did you see the animation? Hand?
Yeah. I actually never caught that.
And watch this. Mag floats up. Not in hand.
That did look a little janky. Now that I actually look at it.
Yeah.
Wow, I never even caught that.
And then it magically slides in, right? But again, it happens so fast. Who's really going to know? And I'm sure that will be polished up. But the cocking of the chamber, 2 fingers like that, I don't think that's effective. But hey, you know what? Pre-rendered animation doesn't fucking matter. By the way, can I just point out, like I was going to point out earlier, but look at the details in the skin and the fingers. You can see.
It's funny
the
you
veins.
say that because on the opposite side, if we go back to the very beginning when they were doing the CEO office,
yes,
it did not look.
It looked terrible. Looked terrible. Right? Yeah. There was another section.
I say terrible, but comparatively to versus
look at this skin here, where he's planting the pipe bomb and the glove detail. Like, look at that. It's beautiful. Yeah, actually, really, really good. All right. So the Kruger is coming back. So I'm pointing these out because I'm sure people are going to want to know what guns are returning, which ones aren't. Let's see, the G36, crossbow. The next scene, I believe, that I want to look at, which is 40 seconds. So this is just more of Crossroads. Not much else to look at here. This reminds me of, you know, the side of District with the wall, you know,
Okay.
and there's like the blue car or whatever. That's what this reminds me of. It's not it. It just reminds me of it. It just gives me the, you know, the nostalgia there. So not much happening here. We got more oil rig coming up.
Oil rig coming up the stairs.
We got the SO. They've got the SOS there, right? Now on the crossbow, you can see it says Infantry 07 on the side. Again, more numbers. And another thing to point out, this is still Crossroads because you can see the buildings in the back. But how much of the construction site on Black Site does this look?
That was going to say to you, it's very reminiscent of Black Site. The building on Black Site.
So that's kind of cool. Again, it's thematic based on the region, but it looks really cool. Did I just see the crossbow or the bolt? That's where I saw the bolt. Can I get it? There it is. There's the bolt flying out. Knew I could catch it. All right, so we get past some of this stuff.
So
a really cool
44 seconds.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm trying to get. So one thing to note before we get to the 44-second mark, which is actually only a second away, we got Skip here, who has a brand new skill. He doesn't have the loaded or extra ammunition or whatever it was called. He doesn't have that anymore. They look a lot more tactical in this game, don't they? Like, look at the utility vests and stuff. Like, it just looks more tactical, more police, rather than, like, contractor. I don't know. Interesting to me. All right, so here we are, Titch. There's no opening there. Do you think it's going to go into this office, maybe?
So here's the deal. This opening seems bigger than in the original map, between the wall and what was the office.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree. It does look bigger.
It does look bigger. So again, we'll come across this when we discuss the other videos that I have.
Okay. So in this video, we can see that there's Skip, there's Nala, I believe there's Jag, and I can't tell who this gentleman is over here. But we can see all them moving. Again, we got the O2 here on the Taylor. I believe that's the Taylor. We got the active flashlight, and look at the, this is the, obviously the shadow of the contractor, the projection of the shadow. This looks like zigzag a little. Is it zigzag? No. Kind of hard to tell. Is that zigzag?
Sorry, what number are you, or where you on?
No, it's not zigzag because stairs would go down 44, but it's with the flashlight and light. No, this isn't zigzag, but where the hell is this?
Where you at? Number. Sorry, I got like so many tabs open. You're at 44 seconds?
Yeah, but it's not when they're walking with the backlight.
Yeah.
It says that there's no way to the left. It kind of looks like zigzag, but it's not because there'd be stairs to the right.
This reminds me of... Okay. So, hold on to this thought. We're going to come back to this. Again,
there's a laptop.
Again, I think this ties into... That could actually be below CEO office.
Really?
Potentially.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, because like the stairs potentially. I think this could be upstairs too.
This is where the night vision plays kicks in. So this is a really cool scene.
Yeah.
This is that's zigzag back there, right?
So this would be so to your left is going to elevator rooms.
Yes.
To your left.
Yep. And
So this is the top of
lobby
the stairs from
yeah,
ping
top
pong.
of the stairs. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So
that
you
would
would have
make
come up
zigzag back
ping
there.
pong stairs. No, zigzag is opposite corner.
So the stairs are oriented down this way then?
Are you talking about the new stairs?
No, the lobby stairs.
The lobby stairs are straight ahead and to your right.
Yeah, they're right here.
Correct. Yeah.
But zigzag was to the right at the top of the lobby stairs.
If you're standing at the top of the lobby stairs looking down, they'd be on your left. Zigzag.
Oh, you're talking about the first floor zigzag. I'm talking about CEO office zigzag.
I am talking about CEO office zigzag. You're literally kitty corner from CEO zigzag. Kitty corner. You came up. Remember ping pong spawn? If you went to the left of ping pong spawn, you went up the stairs. This is where you'd be.
What? No.
Yes.
No, you go to.
Do you see the opening to your left right now?
You go to the top of the main lobby stairs. From
Fuck the main
pong.
lobby stairs. Where you're standing right now, you see that opening to your left?
Yes.
Okay, that room right there is that little utility, like where the laptop would spawn in. So on your left, if you were to go left, that would be server room straight ahead of you. If you were to turn left on this thing right there, that would be server room. If you were to turn left and then go left again, that's where the couch spawn location was for laptop. And then elevator rooms would be in front of you. Elevator rooms technically on the other side of the wall. To
Just
your left.
orient me from the top of the lobby stairs.
Top of the lobby stairs is straight ahead and then
Because that's how. And then to the right.
Correct.
So you're at the top of the lobby stairs. You go in that hall. That's
if you're looking for
literally
zigzag,
right.
Go straight ahead till you pass this corner, turn right, and then straight ahead is zigzag. You are literally on the opposite corner from CEO office.
Titch, you're saying this is the top of the lobby stairs right here.
Not there. No. Like
that's what you said earlier.
No, I said it's a like okay, like when you said the other side of this wall, I'm assuming you mean like go forward 90 degrees and then like the stairs.
I was thinking that this is the left of the lobby stairs.
Right. Tell you what, bring up my screen.
This is the hall left to the lobby stairs.
Bring up my screen. Here you go. So
you're killing me because your orientation is different than mine, and you have a terrible. You're terrible at describing from a different orientation. Yes, you
main
are
stairs. Main
at
stairs.
Describing other orientations. Yes,
okay,
and then you have a hallway
room.
You have a hallway directly across from the main stairs.
That's stairs from thing.
And zigzag is to the right of the main stairs.
So there's office 1. Yeah, there's office 2.
Yes, and then you have the kitchen or the dining room to the right. And then you have
like that. Yeah.
Yes.
So right now they're here.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I said to the left of the main lobby stairs. And then you said no. Yeah. You said no, that's the top of the lobby stairs. And I said, okay, so then that would make directly what we're looking at as zigzag. That's why when I asked, okay, so we're to the left of the lobby stairs.
Because when you moused over this area, I thought you meant as like over here is where the stairs are, and I'm like, yes, correct.
Yeah,
because that's where you're mousing.
So we are thinking about the same spot.
Not like the stairs being here, not
right?
The stairs
and that's
being
what you confused me with because I'm like, okay, well if he's right about that, then zigzag would be straight across. Yeah, no. We're thinking about the same spot then.
Okay.
Yeah, you. Okay. Let's get back to the video. God Almighty, this is why we take hours to do things. Okay, so we're oriented to the same spot, but I like that they have night vision. Now, here's my question to you. Okay, so this scene starts not in night vision, and my question is night vision going to be activated by a button press and automatically happen like what seems to happen here? Bing, just on, or are they just applying a filter over it for the video to simulate night vision?
That was a tough call. I think it would be a button press. Is how it would make sense.
Kind of what I'm thinking.
Be a button press. Yeah.
So we can see here again. I'm not going to go into great detail. Again, we can see the club to the right here on Crossroads. Some more fire coming off of the truck, which is really cool.
Notice the POI on the laptop has changed?
Yes. Sure have noticed that. So
Sure
this
did.
is the scene that made me think of Compound. I'm not saying it is Compound. It just made me think of Compound.
Yo, what up? 007?
Hey, 007, how's it going? So this made me think of Compound.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. By the way, you're saying like this is C. So you have to remember that they're doing co-op right now and they have to hack 3 laptops. So we see C here.
I see.
And we see A here. So there's going to be an A, B, and C.
Yep.
So this made me think of Compound. And let's see. Now we have a shot of the evac
I take
zone.
back my initial.
Well, you've been taking back fucking everything.
No. I go back to my initial statement. I watched this video again. While we're trying to do this, I've been trying to get timestamps for this other video, and now I watched it again. I go back to my initial response where the stairs are. It can't be anything other than what I think it is.
So the next scene here is the evac zone. So in the co-op, after you hack the laptops, there's going to be an evac site. I just wanted to highlight kind of how cool it is. It's got that new stylistic pattern. Makes me think of a hard point or something like that. But here's an evac zone, so they're going to end up having to hold that off. A cool little knife shot. They're killing the new character Havoc. So he's a goner. Going to slip right through the hat, as you can see. Just goes right through the hat into his spinal cord. And then if you look at this shot, we got like a 4x zoom on this new sniper rifle, which is the FN. But why is this important? Because here we could see the character perspective inside a building, and look how far away the other character is, and that building is open.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the distance. The scale is really what is highlighted here. It makes the sniper relevant. So you could be hunkered down in a parallel building from your opponent. And I'm assuming like you could see the TV on downstairs here. So there's going to be multiple levels, multiple rooms that you can go in. So with all these buildings being open, look at the scale. It's pretty big.
Yeah.
Which is why I mentioned what I said during our bunker conversation, because if they're looking for scale, they're not going to want to add just one more strip. They're going to want to expand it in a significant way. But again, like this is all speculation. Now, why did I timestamp this one? Because Titch, look, brand new smoke mechanics. This is a smoke screen. Someone threw a smoke grenade, and it's a little bit more bubbly, cartoony, if you will. That's what it looks like to me. But it's the new smoke. And you actually disappear into it. Can't see someone worth shit. So smokes might be viable. We'll have to wait and see. But I thought that was interesting because it's the only showcasing of the smoke.
Yeah.
So interesting. We got a little bit more of oil rig here, a little drop down that no one cares about. We all know that spot. They're
other than the lighting, I think that's the biggest thing on that one.
Yeah, light. I think that's why they've been highlighting it so much. Another thing that they've never showcased anywhere else in this video is the sliding, which there's going to be sliding now. We see it here. So if you do it nice and slow, he actually tries to slide behind the truck, and I'll be honest, that animation looks jank as shit. Look at this. It's like he's sitting on his back heel. And his upper body is so stiff. But when I was talking about sliding in my other video. When I was talking about sliding in my other video, the sliding can't be something like Alvo, right? It's got to be short and it's got to be quick. So we can kind of see it here. It's going to be short just to get behind cover. And it's because you're not moving very fast, it's not going to be over a long distance.
No.
So
No, definitely not.
There's going to be sliding. Looks a little jank, but hey, you know what? It's there if you need it. I don't know if there's any other point. I honestly think that was it. Yeah, that was it. So we finally, after what, 2 hours, got through this 1 minute video.
3 hours.
Yeah,
3 hours to get through them.
1 hour for the article, 2 hours for the video.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to bring up this other video that you shared with me.
And if we go to the 21 second mark.
Frankie. Wait, when did this come out?
So this was
2
like
months
the
ago. 2 months ago.
Yeah. So if we go to the 21 minute mark.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, so here are the stairs.
Jesus. Okay, hold on.
There's the partition.
So, yes, hold on. So to our right would be where ping pong table is. Okay. Reason being, pay attention to this. This area, as I said, was an area that was never used. Behind us would be where like everybody would held underneath cafeteria or underneath kitchen, I should say. Right? Everybody held underneath kitchen. To our right would also be that zigzag beside stairwell, right? Or beside stairs, right? So that's where this area is on the lower section. And the reason I say this is because now, if we jump to the, if we go to the 32 second mark,
Sorry, I haven't actually watched this video, so I never broke it down.
If you go to the 3 second mark, there's a big jammer, by the way, or some sort of. So keep going over a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just checking it out. Look how fucked up that is, bro. Jesus Christ. There's no ping pong table there.
Correct. There's no ping pong table, and there's
a wall.
Correct. So there's a wall there now. So this is originally where I said to you, I think the stairs is actually where the offices used to be, because as you can see, the office wall, or like the wall that is there behind the offices, there's obviously something behind there. You can see the opening if you look directly where the lighting is. Yeah. Where the light is, there's an opening there.
Do you think that's now a rec room? And they put the ping pong table back there?
I'm not sure what it is, but initially that's why when I looked at this again, I was like, maybe the stairs are there, but then again, they're not there, because if we jump
see, there's the opening. That's a pretty big opening too.
Yes. Now, if you jump to 48 seconds.
So these, where I'm at, these are the stairs down to the communications room that I was talking about.
Or potentially the stairs. No, because the blue. You see the blue up top here?
Oh yeah,
this
is
the one
this
from
is next to
that
ping
would have been next to ping pong. Correct.
Yeah, so this would have been ping pong right here,
which is now in cover in some room. Which would now, it doesn't make sense that the stair will be there. Plus, again, if you go to the 48 second mark, you'll understand why it wouldn't be there to begin with.
Oh, that's bright.
All right. Are you on the 48 second mark?
Yeah.
You're gone too far.
There's the CEO office.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's right after this. Sorry. Oh crap, hold on. I lied. 54 second.
And no kidding, you lied.
54 second mark. Sorry.
Is the shooting range?
So 54 seconds. You are staring down. Okay. So remember, I said to you, if the stairs are where I say they are, which is underneath cafeteria, which you'll see in a moment is true. This is the long hall at the back of the conference room, which the conference room is the one that's in the middle, where underneath the kitchen, right? And occasionally we would go downstairs and you put on there, and you can see we're tight against the corner of the building here. As we come up the stairs, if you go back, you've skipped like, I don't know where you're going, but if you're coming up this corner, that's going to be long shot to CEO office. We are coming up to cafeteria in this corner.
So you're saying that the cafeteria is on the left then?
as soon as we come up the stairs, cafeteria is on our left. We are a long shot to CEO office.
Do you think so though? I don't know, man. I'm kind of in line. No, I'm kind of in no
pay attention.
because
We've already
cafeteria
confirmed.
but dude, cafeteria had this kind of roof. The long hall to CEO office did not.
But
so I think
we're
you're right
hold on.
that the wall between cafeteria and that office space is actually right here, and that this stairwell, which wasn't in the previous recording, is now here, and that this is bringing you up into the cafeteria, which then, if you go all the way to the end of the cafeteria to your left, that would be the CEO room.
I'm gonna very easily prove that wrong, because if you go back to the video that we were just looking at, the video from the PlayStation blog, and we go to timestamp 43 seconds. I get maybe. I don't think so. Because there's the wall.
I would think, there's the wall. But you got to remember.
Do you see the ceiling? Do you see the way the ceilings are coming up? Do you see the way the lines are?
Yeah.
We have to be tight to
you're right about that. You're right. You're not wrong.
Right? We have to be tight to the corner of the building. So,
and if this is the continue, this is an elevator, dude. This looks like a large elevator. That is not this. Play? No, that is not this. It's not the same
background. No,
okay. It's not the same. I think this is an elevator.
Oh yeah, because the lines are different. The lines aren't there.
The lines are different, and look at the handrails. It's very reminiscent of an elevator. So
but because it comes with those stairs,
so where else would this ceiling pattern be? So
that ceiling pattern. So that ceiling pattern is all through the halls, in all of them.
But it's not. But I don't think it's down CEO, or is 100%. It? Is it?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I'm positive that it's down the CEO hallway.
Man, I wish he just fucking went up the stairs here.
You know what? Hold on. If we go PlayStation blog, back to 16. No.
Yeah, here it is. 16. I got it. 29. Oh wait, no. Where's the CEO office? Here it is. So CEO office had that, but the hall does the hall have the same ceiling?
All the hall. So 28-second mark has it.
Yes, but that's not the CEO hall.
No, but if you go but again, the CEO office has it, and if you go to 29 seconds, the hallway at the back has it at 29 seconds.
You very well could be right about this, because even if you look at the orientation at 16 seconds where the stairs go up, if this is directly below the cafeteria, then this would put you on this trajectory towards the CEO office.
Yep. So, and this, so that's what I'm saying. With the stairs being, but they have done something with the room, or with ping pong table. They've definitely made that a room itself, and they've.
But notice how we don't see that wall that we were talking about right here.
Again, it's because that pillar's there. I think it blocks it. Well, there is no wall.
It's just kind of. It's just kind of hard. It's kind of hard to tell. It's they have kept it so confined. It's not impossible to tell, but it's hard to orient our already conditioned minds to.
Again, if you were to look past that post, and if you think about this back section, there are 2 posts in this area, right? Because in the event that you would get ping pong table, or not ping pong table, you would get cafeteria, you would run all the way to the far, all the way to CEO office stairs. You would come down, you would come across, and you would put it on that pillar.
Yeah.
So to our right now would be where ping pong table was. And then going up those stairs would be going back to CEO office. And like I said, if you look, we already have proof that the stairs,
I don't like admitting it, but I think you are right.
And again, we already have proof that the stairs from ping pong already still exist, as seen when he went up the stairs and we saw the blue. So that confirms this, the one corner already has stairs. That corner is eliminated. We know the CEO office is still there, and I'm going to assume this is the stairs beside the CEO office are still there. But either way, that corner is eliminated because the CEO office.
You could tell this is the same because the other team would be coming this way.
Right? So that we automatically know the CEO office is where it is. So that eliminates that corner. The only other corner that's available would be the stairs coming down to the sales office, which we were talking about.
You can actually kind of see in the video that you shared with me. Let's see if I can get a good shot here. So here's the hallway that has that big space in the middle that people would hide behind. You know, it's a big drop.
Yeah,
that's right there.
That wall that everybody would hide behind.
That's right there. And then the stairs would go up that way. The main lobby stairs. I can see it now, but why would they put stairs? Like,
again,
this wasn't. I wouldn't say that this was highly underutilized because, like 100%. You just said, no, because a lot of people use this. When you got ping pong spawn, you would only come in and defend from here. That was like the meta,
but
it wasn't underutilized
to a degree. But now you've changed. Again, like I said, like
this creates a much better attack focused approach towards CEO office.
If you think
for sure,
about office, not even CEO office, because if you think about the map, think about how many times did you actually push into this area, or how many times did you actually go into this area? I can think of a handful of times, and it was only for that specific one spawn. If they ran specifically the bottom, which by the way, we became accustomed to that, and we would stop people from doing it because they had to run all the way, and you could cut them off if you knew the spawn locations, which eventually we did. This spot was basically dead weight on a map.
I can see that.
And this is why I said to you, like, it would make sense when redoing maps, they were going to look at the map and saying what spaces aren't being utilized and what can we do to make them more used. Because this whole back corner, like, honestly, can you think of, like, how many times would you actually come and hold this back corner or do anything with it?
You know, to make it more utilized would simply be to add a laptop spawn there.
Yeah,
they didn't have to add a whole. Not that I'm against the addition of the stairs, but they didn't have to do a map redesign to make it functional. You know what I'm saying? It's just interesting that was a choice. But
again, it's not. Again, when you think about the redesign, I mean, other than the scattering of things like that, really, you're putting a staircase in
a hole.
A hole.
Yeah, it's not super significant. I mean,
and again, this goes back to the whole concept of my argument with bunker, right? It's like, what are you doing to the map that for the work and the effort to change up the map to make it have a new feel or a new path? And it doesn't. Like I said, that's why I said the other one didn't make sense to me on why on your thought on bunker. And this one, again, same thing. And it makes sense that this corner was so underutilized as a map to be able to allow another space, either coming from, so say you spawned cafeteria, to be able to go have the option to go downstairs first. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Oh, I'm not opposed to more avenues and more lanes.
Yeah.
100% not. I'm not opposed to that. I just think that if they wanted to make it more accessible and more intentionally utilized, you could have easily put a spawn point right there. You know, they could have done that. But I like the addition
that I wanted to really point out based on what we already saw from.
Oh, the proof is there. You showed enough evidence to prove its position. So, but the whole bunker debate. I mean, again, like, that was just our speculation. Yeah. I mean, there were really no local indicators to determine where that was.
And that's just it, right? It's just based on what they wrote on the map, based on what we see, and how the map currently lays out. I'm very curious to see how that one looks. Like I said, I'm like 100% confident on where the stairwell is. There's no doubt in
I
my
am.
mind.
I am now. I am now myself. I'm confident that it's in that exact spot that you said.
But yeah, the bunker one is going to be an interesting one because I believe it's going to be off to the side, opposite from the underground, and it would make sense to be opposite from the underground because that space is new, fresh, has access to both red and blue sides. You can do multiple entranceways into those areas, and it keeps the map symmetrical in a way that somewhat symmetrical in a way for one tunnel.
So
like
with
one main path.
With everything that we've gone over in this most recent PlayStation blog and all the information that we have gained over time, which honestly wasn't too much, we're actually getting a buttload of information more recently than anything. I'm curious to know what everybody in chat is thinking. What's your excitement level? Have you already pre-ordered after this and this discussion? You only have 1 day left because it's releasing tomorrow. It's technically midnight here on the East Coast.
Oh, yeah.
So it's coming out tomorrow. Are you guys hyped? Are you excited? Do you have the PS5 and PSVR 2? Have you pre-ordered? Were you considering pre-ordering, but has this conversation at all swayed you to pre-order or not? And Titch, what are your final thoughts on the matter? Like, given all the information that we have, do you think this is an upgrade? Do you think this is Firewall 0 Hour 1.5, or do you think this is a true new Firewall 2?
I can understand the people's comments of it being 1.5. Because a lot of the stuff is shown as a refresh of what we already have. I think, and I believe Crook said it, I think there's enough in here to make it worthy to say it's 2.0. New maps, again, you could argue, well, they would have just put new maps in Firewall to begin with. But, let's be honest, the cycle has ended. It is the next iteration of the game. It makes sense for the universe to keep some of those maps and, again, reutilize and make the changes to the maps that I think are needed. Like I said, again, like this office as a prime example, I think that, again, I'm just assumptions. I think that it would change the dynamic, or it can very well potentially change the dynamic of the game, adding, trying to utilize, or them trying to be able to make use of those areas where people love the maps and they look at them and go, where can we do something with them? And immediately my first thought is, what parts of the map are not utilized and to their potential? And I think this is one area where they thought would potentially get utilized. They just never did. So with the new maps, with everything going on, the new mechanic, again, a lot of the mechanics and stuff like that really matter once we see them live. But I think there's enough change to say that, yeah, it's ultra.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of that sentiment. Sequels are always going to feel like a copy paste of the original, right? Which is why people tend to hate sequels, because you're like, nothing's better than the original. And you got to do something that's enough of a wow factor to establish it as a proper sequel. But I feel like the FCE have enough content here to do that. In the original trailer of 0 Hour, they showcased a flashlight. Well, with the hardware,
let's be honest.
With the hardware limitations, they couldn't do the flashlight. But now they're able to realize that. They're also able to implement means of blocking flashbangs with covering of your eyes with your hand, or even closing your eyes because of the eye tracking capabilities. They've implemented a sliding mechanic, which we didn't have in 0 Hour. They've remapped some of the maps. They've brought on new maps. They have a brand new system, a lobby system, which is going to make it a much more social game. It was already social before, but now you can be social with your opponent, and you can hear all the cursatory and vulgar words that your opponents say to you. It's going to be a whole new experience. Plus, we have a new contractor, and the maps are going to be bigger. They're going to be more diverse, where you're going to be able to access buildings, whereas in 0 Hour you couldn't. You're going to have 3 PvE modes, which is far beyond what the first one had. You're also going to have a best of 3 match in Publix. So it's no longer just a one and done. You're going to have a best of 3. So I think there's enough here. There's way more than enough, in my opinion, to make it a proper sequel. Plus, you also got the effects of the hardware. You have haptic vibration in the face. You have the proper foveated rendering. You have the 110 degrees of field of view. You also have the eye tracking. You have the haptics in the controllers with the adaptive triggers. Like, you have all this stuff that you can't get in 0 Hour. So gimmick, if you call it gimmicks, you can call it whatever you want, but they're properly upgrading the title to, I think, what I would say a proper sequel.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't situations. I think if you changed everything, new maps, and you had nothing kind of remnant other than like new models or like the same models, I think everybody would just go, well, you just reuse this, and you just, there's nothing kind of,
there's nothing new. There's no pull factor if they were to do that.
Well, I'm saying if they redid everything, like changed everything completely, but they just kept the same models, then it would just be like, well, the only thing, it's like a new game, like completely a new game, and the only thing you did to make it like Firewall was keep the characters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, and then in the same context, like you keep some of the favorite maps or whatever the case may be, and then you get all you've done is just refreshed. So I think it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't concept on their end.
So we've talked about what makes this game good. What we briefly talked about, the 2-minute lag time from when you actually enter a match, and how that could be a good thing and how it could be a bad thing. There is one mechanic in this game that no one can convince me is a good thing, and that is the eye tracking mechanic or weapon selection. There is no way you cannot convince me that is a good idea. In one of the articles that David wrote, not one of the articles, in answering one of the questions in the Discord, he said it is very smooth and seamless. And I'm like, I don't care how smooth or seamless it is. If you break it down step by step functionally, you shouldn't have to take your eyes off of what's ahead of you. And there is no substitution for a one-button press. No substitution. If you think about select going from primary to secondary, you not only have to press and hold circle, but now you have to take your eyes off of what's in front of you, look down, not take your eyes off until you release circle, which will then switch it, and then you have your other weapon in your hand. On top of that, to use a utility item, you got to hold circle, look at the weapon wheel, find the utility item that you want. That takes away your weapon. Now only puts the utility item in your hand, presumably, because that's kind of what we've seen. Now you have to hold R2, I think it was, to aim. Then you need to look where you want to throw it, and then you need to release it. How did you do that in 0 Hour? You held L2 and you released.
Yeah.
Do you see the number of steps? There's no way you can convince me that this gimmick, this means of weapon selection through eye tracking, is good. The only upside is that you're not alone. Everybody's going to be dealing with this shit. So everybody's going to look like a bumbling mess out on the battlefield. And you could really turn this into a red versus blue episode of, oh shit, grenade, oh, pistol, oh, that's not what I wanted. I keep looking at your weapon wheel. Well, stop looking at my weapon wheel. Pay attention to your own. It's going to turn into this like crazy bumble mess of like not being able to play efficiently. You could just swap your weapons with triangle.
I feel like
and
as speed increases.
And you can also now pull out the knife and use that alone, which is great. But that's holding another button to pull that out. So, but that's fine as long as
You only
we
have
can
limited
use
number
the-
of buttons, though. That's a problem.
And that's my biggest concern. Like, yeah, you're adding the eye tracking, but you still have to press and hold a button to bring up the weapon wheel. So why do that when you could just press a button? That's my biggest gripe, is that you cannot substitute a simple button press and say that any other means is more efficient or easily as efficient. And that is my biggest concern about this game, is that when you can piss and moan about maps being too similar. You can piss and moan about the contractors being too similar. You can say, this game is only a half an upgrade, right? It's a 1.5. But a significant mechanic such as weapon management cannot be sacrificed. And in this situation, it 100% has. The mechanic to switch weapons and manage your weaponry has been completely compromised by this stupid eye tracking system. And the only saving grace to this is if you can turn that shit off. It's the only saving grace. So that's my biggest issue, and that could be a huge factor in whether this game does well or not, in my opinion.
You have some valid points on it. It's definitely going to be a learning curve for from the original game. But I think also given time as people get used to it, and again, I think the quick glance down the eye, once you know where everything is, I think initially it's going to be a slow process of looking at the wheel and seeing where it is that you want to be. But I think also bringing it up high enough where it's if you're looking down somewhere, you hold the button so the wheel pops up and it's click, and all of a sudden the gun switches. Because it's not looking down, right? You're gonna have the gun up when you do that.
Right. But the moment you take your eyes off from in front of you is a moment that you can get shot. And another point of contention, which I can neither confirm is true or not, is if you select a grenade or if you select another utility item, that you can no longer hold your weapon in your hand. So if you grab your grenade, it deselects your gun, whereas in 0 hour, you could prep your grenade and still shoot your gun.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm thinking, if they take that mechanic away where you can prep your grenade and keep holding your grenade with the L1 with the L1 button and still be able to fire your gun, if they took that away and instead implemented, okay, well, you want to throw a grenade, so you need to holster your weapon to throw a grenade, so you can no longer shoot while cooking your grenade. It's that completely changes the dynamic. Who's going to use a utility item ever if that's true?
Yeah. Well, 2 more days.
2 more days. 1 more day.
1 more day. That's all we got. And then those questions will be answered.
2 more days, and I'll be playing with some special people, I guess. Hopefully you can too.
I've got plans to go to James's place.
Yeah.
Go to
Karen's. He and I are probably going to be playing tomorrow, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he messaged me and he was like, hey, so you got this pre-ordered? It's yeah, I already have it pre-downloaded too, so I'm ready to have that bad boy downloaded. It just sucks that it's releasing on a fucking Thursday. All days. Middle of the week.
Yeah.
Come on, man. So I'll be playing it late at night. I don't know if Ack has taken the day off, but I'll be streaming it. If I get him on. I'll probably be doing the PvE. I don't want to do the PvP stuff right now. I want to check out I already know what to expect from the PvP. I want to see what all the other stuff is. I want to check out the shooting range. I want to check out the safe house. I want to check out what the PvE has. I want to check out all the UI. I want to check out all the interfaces that I possibly can. I want to practice shooting. I want to practice the mechanics. I want to see how everything works before I even hop into a PvP. And that's probably what I'll end up doing for a while. And also, if you're playing PvP, you don't really get to look at the maps either. You're just looking to survive, right? So at least in PvE, I get an opportunity to maybe I'll go a little bit slower, check out some of the maps, and really enjoy some of that stuff. and I believe they're going to have private lobbies from the get. So
I would hope so.
If we really want to explore some of the maps, we can do that. So I'll probably be doing that too. But anyway, I got nothing else. Do you have anything else? Any final thoughts on anything?
No, that pretty much goes with everything that I had kind of thought about. Again, raised some interesting points with the wheel and the changes on that aspect. I like the changes in the map. Looking forward to see what the changes on bunker, but also looking forward. There's 8 maps. We know that there's bunker. We know that there's office. We know that there's this new one. I forget what the crossroads.
Something.
So that's
oil
3.
rig.
So there's an oil rig. Correct.
So
we know
got
4
4
maps. So there are 4 other maps that are in this that we don't know. At least not that I can think of. We don't know what they are. So interesting to see what those are and what they've done on the changes on those. So yeah.
Well, y'all heard our thoughts. Y'all heard our opinions. What do you guys think? Be sure to leave your comments below. If you guys enjoyed the conversation, the very in-depth, excessive 3.5-hour conversation around this matter, this was a true deep dive from 2 people who have invested many years into this game, inside and out, and value our opinion to whatever degree you want. But I'm also interested to know what you all think. So leave comments, share your thoughts, share this video. Be sure to subscribe, follow on the respective platforms. Be sure to give this a like over on YouTube, and also hit that notification bell. That's going to be it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in. Join the pack today. See you guys in the next one.